Night falls differently in Madagascar. It does not tumble in all at once, nor rush the day away. Instead, it gathers itself along the edges of the baobab groves, where the giant trees stretch like ancient guardians of dusk. Their trunks glow softly in the last orange light, and the long shadows they cast create a kind of hush that feels older than memory. Here, even the wind seems to move with intention, brushing gently against the dry grass as though telling it, "Rest now. The day is done." If you listen closely, truly listen, there is a heartbeat beneath this quiet. Madagascar is a world of rhythms, soft, layered, patient, a world where time feels slower and the earth breathes at a different pace. And tonight, you are invited into that slower rhythm. Welcome to Sleepy Nature Sleep, where the wild grows soft and curiosity becomes calm. Tonight, let your thoughts follow the rhythm of the earth, your breathing settle like evening wind, and your mind wander gently through the quiet wild. For tonight's journey, we drift into Madagascar, an island whose nature is as mysterious as it is gentle, a place where 90% of the creatures are found nowhere else on Earth. A place sculpted by isolation, shaped by time, and softened by silence. As the evening deepens, the world around you becomes less demanding. Your body remembers how to slow down. Your thoughts loosen, little by little, and Madagascar opens its arms, inviting you to drift through its stories the way moonlight drifts across its forests. Before we begin, if these quiet explorations help you unwind, help you rest, or simply offer you a small refuge at the end of a long day, feel free to gently support this growing community of sleepy wanderers. A soft like, a quiet subscription, or a simple comment about where in the world you're listening from helps keep this peaceful corner of the internet alive. And if you're someone who returns here night after night, thank you for being part of this calm little circle. Your presence shapes this space more than you know. Now, let the day slide a little further away. Imagine standing in the avenue of the baobabs at twilight. The air is warm but soft, carrying the faint scent of dusty earth and distant blooming flowers. Above you, baobabs rise like gentle giants, some over 1,000 years old. They look almost like upside-down trees, with roots reaching toward the sky, holding memories of centuries of sun, rain, and wind. As darkness settles into the grooves of their bark, the island transforms. The day creatures quiet themselves. The night creatures wake. The first to appear might be a tiny mouse lemur, one of the smallest primates on Earth. Its round golden eyes reflect the moonlight as it scampers along a branch, curious but unhurried. Somewhere deeper in the forest, a leaf-tailed gecko flattens itself against a tree, so perfectly camouflaged it seems carved from the bark itself. And in the warm coastal regions, the soft rustle of a fossa signals the movement of Madagascar's secretive top predator. But tonight is not about danger nor urgency. Tonight is about softness, about discovering that even the wildest places have a slow heartbeat, a rhythm that gently guides you toward rest. As the night deepens, imagine walking farther into Madagascar's landscapes. Your steps are light, your pace unhurried. The world around you is made of shadows and moonlit silhouettes. Crickets carry their thin, silvery songs across the dark. The leaves murmur as if sharing ancient stories between themselves. And you simply follow the quiet. Because in Madagascar, everything invites you to slow down. The forests whisper in long, steady breaths. The waves along the coasts curl and uncurl like a gentle lullaby. Even the stars above seem to shine a little more patiently, as though waiting for you to catch up. Tonight, you're not here to learn quickly. You're here to drift, to let the world soften around you, to let curiosity unfold without effort, to feel the earth's natural rhythms settle into your own. So, settle in. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breathing deepen. Let the light of the day slip behind the horizon of your thoughts. Because the story of Madagascar, its forests, its creatures, its hidden wonders, begins not with movement, but with stillness. And as we step deeper into the night, a quiet question will rise like moonlight through the leaves, a question about what this island remembers and how its life has shaped itself in the cradle of time. But that question belongs to part 2. For now, allow the rhythm of Madagascar, the pulse of its forests, the patience of its wind, the warmth of its night, to hold you softly. You are entering a world where the wild hums gently, where the night breathes slowly, and where sleep waits like a friend, just a few steps ahead on the quiet path. Follow the stillness, follow the calm, follow the story. Tonight, the wild grows soft for you. Every journey into nature begins with a question, not one asked in urgency or pressed into the air with expectation, but one that rises quietly, like dew forming on a leaf before dawn. Tonight's question is simple, though its roots trail deep into time. What does an island remember? Madagascar is not merely a place on a map. It is an archive of memory carved into stone, whispered through forests, carried by roots, wings, and tides. Millions of years ago, this island drifted away from the ancient supercontinent Gondwana, slowly, gently, like a leaf letting go and following a calm river. Since then, it has lived its life in quiet separation. Isolation can be harsh for some places, yet here it became a cradle. Species evolved without interruption, shaping themselves like artists working in solitude. Trees grew into shapes found nowhere else. Creatures kept their ancient forms and invented new ones. The island became an entire world of its own imagination. And so, as we settle deeper into this nighttime journey, the question lingers. If a land could remember its own story, what would Madagascar recall first? Perhaps it would remember the moment it drifted away from Africa, that long exhale of separation, like stepping into a quieter room. Or maybe it remembers the early forests, the way the first roots gripped the new soil, the way sunlight filtered through leaves that had never known predators, competition, or interruption. It might remember the first lemurs who arrived by accident, carried on rafts of floating vegetation across the sea. Imagine them, small, uncertain, blinking at the strange quiet of the new world. Over time, they would become dozens of species, each shaped by a different dream of survival. Tonight, we walk with these memories, not in a hurry, not as scientists taking notes, but as travelers with soft steps and open minds. Think of the forest as we enter it. The canopy above feels like a ceiling of woven shadow. Leaves shift in slow murmurs, brushing against one another like pages turning in an ancient book. The air is warm and deep, carrying scents of earth, fruit, and distant rain. Madagascar does not reveal itself all at once. It reveals itself slowly, the way sleep approaches, the way breathing steadies, the way the mind lets go of the day. As we step into this deeper quiet, let the question settle gently into your thoughts. Let it loosen the tension in your shoulders. Let it soften the pace of your breath. What does an island remember? A forest older than cities, winds that move like lullabies, creatures shaped by patience. Perhaps Madagascar remembers stillness, and maybe, just maybe, it will lend a little of that stillness to you tonight. We move on now, deeper into the landscape, letting the night open its quiet truths before us. Imagine the world unfolding before you like a slowly unrolling scroll, landscape after landscape revealing itself with the peaceful steadiness of breath. Madagascar is not one ecosystem. It is many worlds woven together, each with its own rhythm, its own heartbeat, its own gentle identity. To the west lies the avenue of the baobabs, those ancient giants that rise against the setting sun like patient guardians. Their trunks are wide, swollen with stored water, shaped by centuries of waiting through dry seasons. In evening light, they stand like pillars holding up the sky. Farther south, the land transforms into something astonishing. The spiny forest, a surreal maze of spiky plants, some thin as needles, some twisted like sculptures. Yet even here, in a place that looks harsh, life moves with subtle grace. Nocturnal animals creep through thorny paths, flowers bloom at night, and insects navigate by moonlight. To the east, everything softens. Moisture gathers, clouds drift low, and the rainforests breathe with steady humidity. Trees rise high and dense, vines curtain the air, moss softens every surface. This is where the Indri sings, its haunting call rolling through the dawn like a long, echoing note from a bamboo flute. Along the coasts, warm winds move in long, sighing breaths. Coral reefs ripple with color beneath gentle waves. Mangroves stand with their roots in seawater, swaying with the tides as though rocking themselves to sleep. And deep inland, the highland plateaus stretch into golden grasslands where wind travels freely, where light spreads across the hills in wide, quiet sheets. Every landscape feels like a different chapter of the same ancient story, each one shaped by time, by isolation, by the slow, sculpting power of nature. As you imagine these worlds, let them create a landscape inside your mind, not vivid and sharp, but soft, like a watercolor painting left to dry under moonlight. Here, in this gentle overview, nothing is urgent. Nothing demands your attention. You simply drift through the shapes and shadows of Madagascar, letting the details fall into place like leaves settling on calm water. And as the landscape expands, your breathing naturally slows, matching the slow expansion of the island itself. For in the quiet worlds of Madagascar, everything grows at nature's pace. And tonight, you're invited to follow. We step now into the first of these landscapes, into the ancient domain of the baobabs, where time moves differently. Before night fully settles, the baobabs stand like enormous silhouettes, their branches shaped like roots reaching toward the sky. They have the quiet authority of beings who have lived through centuries of rain, drought, wind, and change. Some baobabs in Madagascar are more than 1,000 years old. They have seen seasons shift again and again, watched storms gather and scatter, watched rivers change their courses, watched animals migrate and return, and through it all, they remained. If trees could be storytellers, baobabs would be the elders of this land. Their trunks are swollen not by age, but by their remarkable ability to store water. During the dry months, when rivers shrink and grass turns pale, Baobabs quietly release their stored moisture back into themselves, sustaining life with the patience of beings who never rush. Imagine standing beneath one now. The bark is smooth beneath your fingertips, warm from the day's fading sun. Overhead, the sky transitions from orange to violet, and the first stars appear like small sparks caught in the branches. Baobabs do not whisper like other trees. Their leaves are sparse. Their branches are bare for much of the year. Instead, they radiate a kind of stillness, a calm that spreads through the air around them like a slow exhale. Animals rely on them. Birds nest in the hollows. Fruit bats feast on their blossoms at night. Lemurs leap between their branches when the moon is bright. When the baobabs bloom, their flowers open silently, releasing a faintly sweet scent that drifts into the warm night. Moths and bats find them by smell alone. It's a slow exchange, nectar for pollination, patient as breath. Standing among baobabs, you feel the strange sensation of time expanding. Minutes feel like hours. Thoughts loosen, drifting the way petals drift on water. Perhaps this is the lesson of the baobab guardians, that endurance can be gentle, that strength can be still, and that survival does not always require haste. As the sky darkens fully, the silhouettes of the baobabs deepen into night, giant shapes watching over everything around them. You step forward, leaving their quiet domain behind, carrying a piece of their stillness with you as we move toward the next chapter of Madagascar's night. Night settles into the forest like a soft blanket, folding itself gently over leaves, branches, and moss-covered stones. And as the warm darkness deepens, Madagascar's most iconic inhabitants begin to stir. The lemurs, those bright-eyed, soft-furred creatures whose ancestors arrived here millions of years ago by accident and stayed long enough to become a living symbol of the island's wild imagination. At first, you hear only silence. Then, the forest breathes. A leaf rustles, a branch shifts. A distant call rises, low and melodic, like a flute made of wind. Madagascar is home to over 100 species of lemurs, each one shaped differently, moving differently, dreaming differently. Some are tiny, no larger than your palm. Others leap through the canopy with astonishing grace. But at night, most move with a softness that feels tailor-made for this calming world. Tonight, we follow the mouse lemur, one of the smallest primates on Earth. Imagine it, a small, warm body with fur the color of toasted almond, eyes round and glowing like polished amber in the moonlight. It emerges from the hollow of a tree, nose twitching gently as it tastes the air. Mouse lemurs are nocturnal wanderers. They carry the soft language of night inside their bones, careful footsteps, quiet climbs, delicate movements. Their world is built of scent trails and moon-reflected shapes, a sensory realm that unfolds like a dream. You watch it leap to a branch barely thicker than your finger. The branch sways ever so slightly. The lemur pauses, not out of fear, but because stillness is its first instinct. All around, other lemurs begin their nightly rituals. A group of sportive lemurs sit huddled together, grooming one another with gentle rhythmic motions. Grooming is their way of saying, "You are safe with me," a reassurance spoken without words. Farther above, brown lemurs move as a family, mother, father, young ones. They travel together because connection is part of their survival. And something about watching them, unhurried, united, settles something quietly inside you. But the forest is waiting for a different sound, a sound that rises not from small creatures, but from one of Madagascar's most soulful voices, the Indri. Though the Indri is a daytime singer, the forest still carries the memory of its morning calls, long rising notes that echo through mist like ancient hymns. Even now, in the soft cradle of night, the trees seem to hold that sound in their bark, in their leaves, in the very air. Lemurs communicate with one another in subtle ways, soft clicks, quiet chirps, gentle hoots. Not loud calls, not sharp cries, just small sounds, shaped for darkness. Their voices do not disturb the night. They belong to it. They complement it. As you listen, something inside you shifts. Your own breath slows, as though mimicking their small, steady rhythms. Your thoughts soften, moving like lemurs moving through branches. Careful, quiet, almost weightless. There is a lesson here, hidden between the leaves. Not all movement must be bold. Not all survival must be loud. Sometimes the softest beings are the most deeply rooted in their world. A tiny mouse lemur scampers past your path. It pauses, looking up at you with those shimmering eyes that seem to hold the night itself. Then it continues on, vanishing into the branches as though swallowed gently by the dark. And with that, our path turns deeper into the forest, toward creatures shaped by shadows and silence, toward beings who do not show their magic in daylight. We move now toward the masters of camouflage, the keepers of stillness, the silent phantoms of Madagascar's night. There are places in nature where the line between living and non-living becomes beautifully blurred. Madagascar is full of such places, and nowhere is this more enchanting than in the presence of the leaf-tailed gecko, a creature sculpted by evolution to mimic the forest itself. Imagine stepping deeper into the trees. The air cools slightly. Moonlight filters in long slivers through branches overhead. You pause, letting your eyes adjust. At first, you see nothing, only bark, leaves, and twisting roots. Then a leaf blinks. The leaf-tailed gecko is a masterpiece of camouflage. Its body looks like old bark, cracked, rough, patterned with streaks of gray and brown. Others resemble dead leaves, complete with tiny tears along the edges, mimicking insect bites. It is as though the forest shaped these creatures with its own hands. Quietly, slowly, one gecko lifts its head. Its skin is flush against the bark, nearly indistinguishable from the tree. It moves only a few millimeters, enough to reveal life, but not enough to disturb the stillness of the night. Their camouflage is not just visual, it is behavioral. Leaf-tailed geckos move with extraordinary patience, each step measured, each pause long and deliberate. Watching one is like watching stillness itself learn to breathe. A small insect buzzes past. The gecko's eyes, bright and deep as polished obsidian, track it, not with urgency, but with intention. It waits and waits. And then, with a movement so smooth it is almost invisible, it strikes. Not a chase, not a frantic scramble, just precision and calm. You begin to notice others, one flattened against a branch, another curled like a fallen leaf on the forest floor, a third clinging to the underside of a mossy trunk. They do not hide out of fear. They hide because blending in is part of their identity, like sleep is part of night. Their presence invites a quiet reflection. In a world full of noise, there is great wisdom in learning when to be still. Stillness does not mean passive. Stillness means intentional, present, attuned. The leaf-tailed gecko is both unseen and deeply connected to its world, a reminder that some of nature's most profound wonders do not demand attention. They simply are, and by being, they shift something subtly inside the observer. You watch the gecko slowly reposition itself, blending again with flawless ease. If you looked away now, you might never find it again. The forest seems to breathe with it, soft, patient, content. And as the geckos fade back into bark and shadow, our path opens toward Madagascar's coastline, where another rhythm waits, the tides of the eastern shore. Night deepens as we move eastward, following the scent of warm wind and salt water. The forest thins, the air changes, and soon the sound of waves grows near, a slow, repeating hush like the world breathing in its sleep. Welcome to Madagascar's Vanilla Coast, a shoreline named after the fragrant orchids cultivated here, a place where the land meets the Indian Ocean in gentle, rhythmic conversation. The beach at night is a tapestry of soft shapes, pale sand glowing under moonlight, dark driftwood washed smooth by years of tides, palm shadows swaying with unhurried grace. The ocean's voice is steady, not forceful, not crashing, just a slow curl and release. Curl and release. Each wave smoothing the shore as though tucking it under a blanket of silver foam. Driftwood lies scattered across the sand, rounded, softened, sculpted by water and time. Pieces that once stood tall as trees now rest quietly, transformed by distance and journey. There is something deeply soothing about driftwood. It carries the story of movement and surrender, how rigid forms can relax into new shapes once they let the current guide them. You kneel beside a long piece, its surface cool and smooth like polished stone. Every groove, every faded knot, every softened edge tells a tale of traveling without destination, not resisting, just flowing. The waves whisper around you as you watch the slow dance of the tide. Crabs scuttle lightly near the waterline, leaving tiny trails in the sand. A small nocturnal heron stands still, its silhouette sharp against the glowing shoreline, waiting for the faintest ripple of fish. Offshore, the reef hums with nighttime color, coral polyps opening like tiny flowers, fish drifting in slow, dreamy patterns, the ocean pulsing with quiet life, and you feel the calm deepen inside you. The kind of calm that comes from knowing you don't need to push the world forward, you can let it carry you for a while. The tide recedes. Another wave rolls in, a rhythm steady enough to match your breath. Tonight, the ocean teaches a lesson in gentleness. That movement does not have to be forceful to be powerful, and that drifting can be its own form of peace. From here, our path curves back toward the inland forests, where a silent predator roams the shadows, not fearsome, not violent, just another quiet thread in the fabric of Madagascar's night. We walk now toward the fossa. There are creatures in Madagascar that move so quietly through the night, you might never know they were there at all. They leave no grand footprints, no lingering scent, no disturbance in the air, only a soft shift in the forest's rhythm. A fleeting shadow between branches. Such is the nature of the fossa, Madagascar's elusive top predator, and paradoxically, one of its gentlest presences when viewed through the meditative lens of night. The fossa is neither cat nor dog, though it resembles both. Its body is sleek, elongated, built for climbing as much as running. Its tail, almost as long as its body, balances it with the grace of a tightrope walker. And its eyes, They hold a calm amber glow, like embers in a fading fire. Imagine following the fossa now, at a respectful distance. The forest is dim. Moonlight touches only the upper canopy, leaving the understory in shades of silver gray. Leaves shift quietly under its padded paws, but the sound is so faint you barely hear it. The fossa is not a creature of haste. It moves with intention. Slow steps, long pauses, ears attuned to even the smallest rustle of nightlife. Its presence is not a disruption. It's part of the natural balance, a quiet anchor in the forest's ecology. It climbs a tree almost effortlessly. Muscles ripple beneath its tawny fur. It pauses on a thick branch, scanning, not hunting in urgency, just observing, as though reading the forest's current mood. Somewhere in the distance, a sportive lemur bounces lightly from trunk to trunk. The fossa tilts its head, listening. But tonight, it isn't chasing. Tonight it seems to simply wander, a solitary traveler following old, familiar pathways. You watch as it descends again, its tail swinging in soft arcs. The forest around it responds subtly. A chameleon slows its breath, a frog stills in the leaf litter, an owl shifts its wings. The fossa's steps create ripples of awareness. Not fear. Its role is understood, accepted, part of the quiet equilibrium that keeps the forest alive. In its slow, silent movement, there is a lesson. Predators do not always roar. Strength does not always announce itself. Sometimes, power is expressed through quiet presence. The fossa slips between two tree trunks, its body bending with fluid precision. You follow, moving through a corridor of roots and shadow until the scent of earth thickens and the air grows cooler. It stops beside a fallen tree, a massive trunk softened by moss, fungi, and time. For a moment, the fossa simply rests, its breath steady, its heartbeat aligned with the hum of insects in the soil. Watching it, you realize this. Even creatures known for their agility, their dominance, their hunting skill, even they know the value of stillness. After a long moment, the fossa rises, stretches its limbs, and continues on. Not running, not pouncing, just moving deeper into the night, as quietly as a drifting thought. And as you watch it disappear into the soft dark, you carry with you the memory of its calm, deliberate presence, a reminder that every creature plays its role in the peaceful orchestration of Madagascar's night. Ahead, a new landscape awaits, a world where the forest climbs into clouds, where mist hangs like a soft curtain over every leaf, where life moves in gentle, humid rhythms. We walk now into the cloud forest. As the night deepens and the forest rises in elevation, moisture thickens in the air. You feel it first as a coolness on your arms, a soft veil settling on your skin. Then you see it, fog drifting between tree trunks like pale, drifting ribbon. Welcome to Madagascar's cloud forests, where the air carries the weight of mist year-round, and every leaf glistens as though kissed by perpetual dawn. Here, trees wear coats of moss, branches bend under ferns, orchids, and tiny epiphytes, the plants that cling to trunks not for sustenance, but for a place to rest in the sky. Every inch of the forest seems alive, every surface softened by moisture. The ground is spongy underfoot, rich with centuries of fallen leaves. When you step, the forest absorbs your sound, making each movement quieter than the last. Even your breath feels gentler here. Look up. The canopy is lost in swirling white mist, giving the forest a dreamlike ceiling that shifts with every breeze. This is a kingdom of small wonders. A tiny frog no bigger than your thumb sings a delicate chirp from behind a wet leaf. A snail with a translucent shell glides slowly along a mossy branch. Moths rest with wings that look like fragments of lichen. Every creature here is shaped by hydration, by softness, by patience. A lemur calls in the distance, a soft, echoing note that seems swallowed by the fog before it can travel far. Sound behaves differently in the cloud forest. It lands gently, dampened, soothed. You breathe in deeply. The air feels cool and clean, with the faint aroma of bark and rainfall. Cloud forests are living reminders that growth thrives in gentleness. Roots find nourishment not through force, but through steady absorption. Leaves gather moisture quietly, without urgency. Creatures adapt to low light by moving slowly, deliberately, in harmony with their surroundings. This forest teaches a subtle truth. Softness is not weakness. It is a different kind of strength, one that nurtures, restores, and endures. As you walk deeper, your steps sink slightly into the mossy floor. Your pace naturally slows, matching the rhythm of the place. Your mind softens, thoughts dissolving the way mist dissolves into air. Up ahead, the fog swirls as if parting just for you. Revealed is a fallen log covered in luminous green moss. Tiny mushrooms sprout along its length, yellow, white, and amber, like small lanterns glowing in the dim forest. Life here does not rush. It unfurls, quietly, steadily. And in this slow unfurling, it offers you permission to rest, to breathe, to let your own thoughts settle like dew on a quiet morning. From the heart of the cloud forest, our path now leads upward, toward open skies, toward sunlight settling on high plateaus, toward a different kind of stillness waiting on Madagascar's elevated plains. As we leave the mist-soaked forest behind, the world opens wide around you. The air becomes lighter, the sky expands, and soon you find yourself standing at the edge of Madagascar's highland plateaus, a vast domain of tall grasses, rolling hills, and golden light. Here, the wind is the storyteller. It sweeps across the plains in long, gentle waves, bending the grasses in soft choreography. Each blade sways not in haste, but in unison, a quiet dance shaped by the breath of the earth. The plateau stretches for miles, bathed in moonlight. Soft silver highlights trace the curves of the hills, turning the landscape into a serene, rippling sea. You begin to walk. Your feet brush through the grasses, sending a whisper through the field. The sound is soothing, like pages turning slowly in a giant book of nature. Above, the constellations look clearer here, unobstructed, steady, like lanterns hung by the sky itself. A family of bush pigs grazes quietly in the distance, snuffling gently through the grass. A pair of nocturnal birds hop through low shrubs, pecking at seeds and insects hidden in the soil. Even a small herd of zebu cattle moves with slow, rhythmic steps, their bells clinking softly, blending perfectly with the night's calm. Unlike the dense forests or coastal tides, the plateau feels spacious, unburdened, like a place where thoughts can stretch out just as the land does. You inhale deeply. The air is cooler here, carrying the faint scent of dry grass and distant rain. This is a landscape shaped by fire and wind. Fires both natural and human-made pass through these fields periodically, clearing old growth, sparking new shoots, renewing the soil. It seems counterintuitive that destruction can lead to renewal, but nature understands cycles far better than we do. For the plateau, fire is not an ending. It is a beginning in disguise. As you walk, you notice small patches of green where new life has begun to sprout. Tiny shoots push up through blackened soil, fearless, eager, alive. The wind brushes your cheek again, as if to say, renewal is a slow, steady process. You don't need to rush it, you only need to allow it. The grasses sway again, a long, drifting wave stretching to the horizon. Their golden motion echoes the rising and falling of breath. Your breath, the earth's breath. Two rhythms drawing closer together. And as the moonlight settles softly over the plateau, a sense of spacious calm settles with it. Ahead lies another wonder of Madagascar. Creatures with slow, blinking eyes and patient movements, masters of quiet observation and gentle transformation. We walk now toward the world of Madagascar's chameleons. There is a special kind of quiet that settles over Madagascar's highlands just before midnight. A quiet that is not empty, not hollow, but full of breath, full of stillness, full of tiny, deliberate movements that blend effortlessly into the night. In this quiet, a chameleon waits, not hiding, not hunting, simply existing in the rhythm that is uniquely its own. You find it perched on a thin branch, swaying slightly with the evening breeze. Its body is patterned in soft greens and pale golds, colors shaped by moonlight rather than sun. Its feet, little grasping mitts, hold the branch with effortless precision, as though it has always belonged right here, in this very moment. Chameleons do not rush through the world, they drift through it, slow as a thought forming, careful as a deep breath. Its round eyes, able to move independently, scan the darkness with slow, sweeping arcs. One eye watches the world behind it, the other studies the world ahead. Together, they hold a full circle of awareness, as though the chameleon sees not in directions, but in possibilities. You step a little closer. It lifts its head just slightly, not startled, simply acknowledging your presence in its patient domain. The chameleon's colors shift softly, not dramatically, not suddenly, but with the tenderness of dawn spreading over a sleeping hillside. A pale stripe brightens, a spot deepens to a dark jade. Its skin becomes a canvas painted by mood, temperature, and quiet intention. The science behind this is gentle too. Tiny chromatophores beneath the skin expand and contract, reflecting light in shimmering gradients. No rush, no force, just a slow conversation between cells and night. Its tail curls behind it like a question mark, holding its balance, holding its calm. That tail, prehensile and strong, is both anchor and companion, a quiet stabilizer in a world full of movement. You watch as it takes a single step. It lifts its foot so slowly that time seems to stretch around it, moving forward only when it is absolutely certain of where to place its weight. Then the next foot, slow, precise, peaceful. It is not the speed that matters, it is the intention. Chameleons are creatures defined not by urgency, but by clarity. They embody the idea that haste is not necessary when you trust your place in the world. A faint rustle stirs nearby. A tiny moth flutters past, wings catching the moonlight like translucent petals. The chameleon freezes, its entire body becoming still as wood, still as stone, still as silence. Then, with a movement so sudden and precise it feels like a paradox, its tongue shoots forward, a thin elastic line, catching the moth in a perfect arc. But even this motion, as quick as it is, does not disturb the peace around you. The night absorbs it with gentle acceptance, as though the movement belonged to the wind itself. The chameleon settles again, chewing quietly, then returning to its slow, meditative posture. High above, the constellations shimmer. A thin mist drifts across the plateau, and the world, once again, moves at the chameleon's pace. You begin to notice the rhythm, slow observation, stillness, a single thoughtful step, a breath, another step. It feels familiar, almost like the rhythm of falling asleep. One thought drifting, then pausing, another thought drifting, then dissolving softly into the background. The chameleon's world and the world of sleep share the same calm logic. Move slowly, sense deeply, hold gently, release quietly. Nearby, a second chameleon clings to a twig. Its body is smaller, its colors a blend of cool blues and soft brown. It sways in harmony with the movement of the plant, as though tree and reptile are part of the same quiet breath. They do not interact, yet their presence together forms a peaceful symmetry. Two beings sharing space without crowding it, without altering it, just existing in parallel stillness. A light breeze flows over the plateau, ruffling the grasses below. The chameleons keep their balance effortlessly, eyes steady, grip sure. You inhale deeply, matching their unhurried rhythm. Your shoulders relax, your thoughts loosen, your breath grows fuller, then softer. In the presence of these creatures, you realize how rarely in life we allow ourselves to move slowly, to notice, to be deliberate, to simply exist without rushing to the next moment. But here, in the gentle cradle of Madagascar's night, the chameleon invites you to do just that. It looks at you for a brief moment, one eye rotating to meet your gaze, and in that still gaze, there is no fear, no urgency, no demand, only quiet curiosity, quiet acceptance, quiet presence. And then, with a calm as steady as moonlight, it turns away, not withdrawing, not hiding, just continuing its soft journey along the branch. A single, slow step, a pause, another slow step, as though carrying the whole philosophy of the night on its tiny feet. We leave the chameleons now, guided by their unhurried wisdom, moving deeper into the rhythms of Madagascar's nocturnal world, toward wings in the dark, toward pollinators woven into moonlit cycles, toward a soft chorus hidden beneath petals and leaves. Night in Madagascar is not silent. It only sounds silent at first, like an empty stage waiting for its first performer. But listen. Listen more softly, more patiently. There it is, a faint flutter, a thin vibration in the air, a delicate brushing sound you might miss if you blink too long. This is the realm of Madagascar's nighttime pollinators, beings who carry the island's future on their wings, moving gently from flower to flower under the protective cover of darkness. As you walk through a warm, humid patch of forest, you notice a pale bloom opening in the night air. Its petals unfurl like slow, silky breath. A soft scent rises, sweet, inviting, but not overwhelming. It is the fragrance of a night-blooming orchid, a flower built for secret exchanges with moonlit visitors. The first visitor arrives like a whisper, a hawk moth, wings beating so fast they blur into invisible circles. But its landing is soft, gentle, like a feather settling onto water. Hawk moths are extraordinary creatures. Their tongues are impossibly long, some longer than their entire bodies. Delicate coils that unwind to reach nectar hidden deep within flowers. You watch, mesmerized, as the moth hovers with perfect balance, its wings humming in steady, rhythmic pulses. Each hover is a moment of suspension, as though the moth is deciding not just where to drink, but how gently it can touch the world. As it dips into the blossom, pollen dusts its body in a faint golden shimmer. Not a frenzy of pollination, but a quiet partnership. Flower and moth exchanging gifts in the hush of night. A little further along the path, another sound joins the soft chorus, the light flapping of leathery wings. A fruit bat swoops low, gliding effortlessly through the warm air. It lands upside down on a sturdy branch, folding its wings like a cloak around itself. Fruit bats are among Madagascar's most important pollinators. Their large, expressive eyes gleam in the darkness, eyes adapted for navigating moonlit forests, seeking blossoms heavy with nectar and fruit. You watch it hang there, its nose twitching, sniffing for sweetness. When it finds the right flower, it crawls toward it with surprising delicacy, snout dipping gently as it feeds. Each movement is slow, considerate, as though the bat is aware that every petal it touches is part of a delicate balance woven through the night. Nearby, smaller insects work their own quiet routines, tiny beetles nudging pollen grains along, slender winged flies tracing invisible lines between plants, nocturnal bees humming softly in the dark. All of this is happening at once, a vast, gentle collaboration unfolding in shadows. If the lemurs are the night's storytellers and the chameleons its contemplators, then the pollinators are its caretakers. They ensure continuity. They encourage growth. They carry the future lightly on their bodies. You close your eyes for a moment. The air brushes your skin with faint currents from beating wings. The scent of blossoms drifts like a warm exhale from the earth. Somewhere, a bat flutters. Somewhere else, a moth hovers like a breath held softly in place. There is a lesson here too. Even the quietest beings keep the world alive. Even the smallest motions can nourish an entire forest. The night, once seemingly empty, feels full now, full of tiny, meaningful exchanges, full of gentle labor, full of connections carried on soft wings. You continue walking, guided by the faint glow of luminous flowers and the hum of unseen companions. With each step, the forest seems to lean closer, as if appreciating your quiet attention, as if welcoming you deeper into its nocturnal rhythm. Ahead lies water, not river, not sea, but the memory of rain gathering into wandering streams. We follow the scent of damp soil and moss now, toward the rivers that rise and fall with Madagascar's heartbeat. There are rivers that run year-round, rivers that carve deep gorges, rivers that thunder with raw power. And then there are Madagascar's seasonal rivers, gentle wandering waterways that appear and disappear with the sky's slow moods. These are the rivers that remember rain. You reach one now, its path wide but shallow, the water glowing softly under the moon like poured silver. It flows with a quiet that feels ancient, a quiet that suggests patience, endurance, and memory. Seasonal rivers begin high in the mountains when the rains arrive. The water gathers in thin threads, dripping from stones, slipping between roots, collecting in tiny streams that merge into something larger. In the dry season, these same rivers shrink to thin ribbons, sometimes drying completely, leaving behind beds of smooth stones that hold the imprint of past currents. Imagine kneeling by the river now. You dip your fingers into the cool water. It feels clean, young, eager to move. The river murmurs softly around stones, its voice a gentle arrangement of trickles and ripples. A frog floats nearby, only its eyes above the surface, still, watchful, patient. Small fish move like shifting shadows under the surface, swimming in lazy spirals. Along the riverbank, reeds sway with the faintest breeze. Their dry rustle mixes with the water's quiet song, a duet that seems to play without beginning or end. You begin to walk along the water's edge, following the curve of the riverbed. In some places, the water pools into mirror-like basins where stars appear to float like tiny lanterns drifting in liquid night. In others, it narrows into shallow channels that wind through pebbles in delicate, meandering threads. Seasonal rivers are storytellers of time. They hold the memory of rains long gone, the heavy monsoon storms that soak the earth, the light showers that whisper across the highlands, the first raindrops of the wet season that awaken buried seeds and sleeping insects. Their story is one of return, not constant, not forceful, but cyclical and sure. As you listen to the water, you begin to understand. Some things do not need to exist all the time to matter deeply. Some things take their form only when the world invites them. The river knows how to withdraw. It knows how to wait. It knows how to come back. The creatures that depend on it know this too. A small group of ring-tailed lemurs arrives at the bank, their soft striped tails curling gracefully behind them. They drink in calm sips, then sit together, grooming gently as the river flows beside them. A nocturnal bird steps delicately through the shallow water, searching for insects with slow, thoughtful movements. A tenrec, a tiny hedgehog-like creature, pokes its nose into damp soil, sniffing with enthusiastic curiosity. Life gathers here because water, even when temporary, is a promise that returns with the seasons, with patience, with time. You close your eyes and listen again. The river seems to breathe, in, out, over stones, around roots, through passing seasons. In its voice, there is no rush, no urgency, only presence. And as you stand beside it, you feel your own thoughts flow more slowly, like water remembering the rain. Ahead, the landscape begins to shift once again. The trees grow stranger. The ground becomes thorny, textured by shapes that look both alien and beautiful. We move now into the spiny desert, one of Madagascar's most surreal and mesmerizing worlds. As the river bends away into darkness, the land begins to change again, quietly at first, then unmistakably. The air warms, the wind grows dry, and the silhouettes around you sharpen into shapes that look as if they've stepped from a painter's dream. You have arrived in Madagascar's spiny forest, one of the most unusual landscapes on Earth. Here, plants do not simply grow. They reach, twist, arch, and contort themselves into surreal sculptures, each one shaped by sun, drought, and ancient adaptation. Under the moonlight, the spines cast long, delicate shadows, creating a world where every line looks drawn by a careful hand. You pause at the edge of the forest. The plants seem to stand in silent greeting, tall octopus trees with spiny arms uplifted like dancers frozen mid-gesture, euphorbias that mimic cacti with haunting precision, and thick baobab relatives with trunks swollen from storing precious water. It feels otherworldly, yet deeply peaceful. The ground beneath you is sandy and warm, holding the memory of daytime heat. When you take a step, the soil gives slightly, a soft, whispering crunch that fades quickly into the warm night. The spiny forest is a place of minimal sound. Life here conserves energy, moving with heightened intention. A gecko clings to the trunk of a spiny succulent, its skin blending so perfectly with the bark that you only notice it when its tiny toes shift. A tenrec, small and bristled, rustles through the undergrowth in slow, determined sniffs, searching for insects hidden beneath layers of fallen thorns. Even the insects fly differently here, not in rapid swarms, but in calm, careful arcs, as if mindful of the spikes that surround them. You run your hand gently near the spines, not touching, just feeling their presence. Each spine represents survival through drought, a strategy honed over millions of years in a place where water is rare and sunlight vast. In daylight, this forest can feel harsh, sharp lines against sharp light. But at night, the moon softens everything. The spines glow pale, shadows deepen into velvety pools, and the harsh angles become quiet strokes in a desert lullaby. Here, the plants whisper a slow truth. Beauty can flourish in the most unlikely places when life learns how to adapt. You walk deeper, stepping between tall succulents that lean in strange, graceful curves. Some trees have trunks twisted like ropes, others grow in tight spirals, branches bending as though shaped by wind and memory. You spot a solitary night-blooming flower at the base of a spiny tree, its petals open wide, its scent sweet and heavy. It blooms only at night, relying on nocturnal moths and bats to carry its lineage forward. A single hawk moth arrives, fluttering gently toward the blossom with the same delicate intention you saw earlier along the river. It dips into the flower, leaving behind a faint tremble of petals. You follow a narrow pathway where the spines arch overhead, creating a natural corridor. The sky above is clear, stars scattered across it like tiny crystals. They shine brighter here, as though the dryness of the air sharpens their glow. A soft breeze moves through the spines, creating a delicate chime, a sound like tiny fingers tapping glass. It is subtle, barely audible, like the forest humming to itself. You inhale. The air carries a comforting warmth, with hints of resin, dust, and distant herbs that only bloom after dark. As you continue walking, you notice something else. Even here, in a landscape shaped by scarcity, the forest holds a quiet generosity. Plants share water through deep root networks. Animals move slowly to conserve energy. Life balances itself carefully, gently, intentionally. And in that balance, there is peace. Ahead, the silhouettes of trees grow taller. The air thickens with moisture, and the soil darkens under your feet. We are leaving the desert dreamscape and rising into the lush realm of Madagascar's most soulful voice. It is almost time to meet the Indri. Before dawn breaks in Madagascar, before the first shaft of light slips through the canopy, a sound rises into the air, a sound so haunting, so resonant, that it feels like the forest itself is singing. This is the call of the Indri, the largest living lemur and one of the island's most sacred voices. Tonight, we approach the edge of its rainforest home. The humidity returns, wrapping around you like a soft, warm blanket. Leaves glisten with moisture. Vines drape from branches as though the forest is decorated for a silent celebration. Even though the Indri calls mainly at sunrise, the forest holds the memory of its song, a memory that lingers in every branch and root like an echo that never fully fades. You step into the lush undergrowth. The leaves brush your shoulders. The air smells of moss, earth, and distant rainfall. Somewhere, a frog croaks softly, followed by the clicking rhythm of nocturnal insects. The trees tower above you, tall, ancient, swaying gently with the night breeze. This rainforest feels alive in a different way from the cloud forest. Here, The life is layered, dense, woven into a tapestry of sound and shadow. Then you hear it. Not the full Indri call, but a soft, distant hum, a low, rising note, like the warm-up of an ancient instrument. The forest seems to lean closer, as if listening with you. Indri calls can travel for more than a mile, a slow, rising, melodic cry that threads through fog and branches like a ribbon of sound. These calls are the Indri's way of telling the forest, we are here, we belong, this is our home. Even now, at night, you can feel the emotional weight of that song. A gentle rustling overhead breaks the silence. You look up and see a pair of large round eyes peering down at you. An Indri, awake at night, moving slowly between branches. Its body is soft, dense with black and white fur. Its long legs grip the bark with effortless grace, and its face looks almost human, gentle, curious, expressive. Indri do not have tails. Their bodies end in a soft curve, giving them a unique, striking silhouette as they leap through the canopy at dawn. But tonight, it does not leap. Tonight, it sits quietly on a branch, watching you with calm interest. The Indri breathes slowly, its chest rising and falling with a steady peace. You match your breath to its rhythm, feeling your pulse slow, your shoulders soften. The Indri tilts its head, ears twitching lightly at the faint rustle of nocturnal insects. Indri families are deeply connected. They live in small groups, sing in duet or chorus, raise their young with tenderness, and stay loyal to their partners for life. The Indri above you shifts slightly, revealing a juvenile clinging to its fur, its small hands gripping tightly, eyes wide with sleepy curiosity. The scene feels intimate, gentle, profound. You are witnessing not just wildlife, but connection, a bond formed through trust, sound, and shared space. A soft breeze moves through the forest. Leaves shimmer overhead. The Indri closes its eyes for a moment, relaxing completely into the cradle of its branch. You understand something then. The forest does not need the Indri's song to be whole, but the song makes the forest feel alive. It makes it feel awake, even in its deepest stillness. You take another slow breath, holding the quiet moment in your hands like a small, glowing ember. Ahead, the landscape begins to shift toward the coast once more. You hear the first faint suggestion of waves, a distant hush drawing you toward the underwater gardens that breathe beneath Madagascar's tides. We turn now toward coral, toward color, toward quiet worlds shaped by the sea. Before dawn touches the island, before the first lemur stirs, another world awakens beneath gentle waves, a world so soft, so dreamlike, it feels like slipping into sleep with your eyes open. This is Madagascar's coral reef realm, a garden of color and motion, alive with quiet choreography. You wade into the warm, shallow water, feeling the sand shift beneath your feet. The ocean at night is gentler than in daylight, its movement slower, its surface smoother, its voice a low, calming hum. As you step deeper, the water rises to your knees, then to your waist. The temperature wraps around you like warm silk. The moon casts a pale shimmer over the surface, turning every ripple into liquid silver. With a slow breath, you slip beneath the surface. The world below blooms into being. Coral mounds rise like ancient sculptures, their forms intricate and organic, branches, spirals, fans, cups, ridges. Some glow with soft fluorescence, a faint blue-green shimmer that looks like light trapped inside living crystal. Small fish drift between the corals as though suspended in a dream. Their scales catch the moon-filtered light, flashing notes of gold, silver, turquoise. They do not dart wildly. At night, they move with unhurried grace, soft pulses of fins, gentle turns, movements like drifting leaves suspended in water. A parrotfish sleeps in a nook of coral, wrapped in a thin cocoon of mucus that protects it from nighttime scents and predators. Its colors, pink, teal, and lavender, glimmer faintly beneath the surface, like painted glass. Nearby, a sea cucumber inches across the sandy floor, its body moving in slow, rhythmic contractions, a movement as steady as breathing. A ray glides past, wings flowing like silk. It leaves a faint trail of stirred sand, a signature of its passing. Everything underwater moves not with urgency, but with fluid gentleness. It feels like entering a world designed specifically for calming the mind. Tiny shrimp click softly as they groom coral heads. Crabs scuttle slowly across rock. An octopus, brilliant one moment, invisible the next, shifts through colors that blend seamlessly into its surroundings. Even the water has a voice here, the deep, rhythmic thrum of gentle tides pushing against coral walls. A soft heartbeat felt more than heard. You float there, weightless, suspended in this peaceful underwater garden. Your breath moves in long, slow waves. Your body relaxes completely. Then something magical happens. A school of small, silvery fish appears, 100 individuals moving as one. They glide around you in a slow spiral, their bodies catching the faint glow of bioluminescent plankton. The effect is enchanting, as though stars are swimming around you. Their pattern is effortless, fluid, like a lullaby written in motion. They circle once, twice, then drift away, leaving the water shimmering softly in their wake. Coral reefs are often described as bustling, vibrant, chaotic places, but at night, they become something different, something softer, something more intimate. The sea's energy, once bright and active, settles into a sleepy rhythm. Creatures tuck themselves into coral crevices. Anemones pull in their tentacles. Plants sway gently, driven only by the slow pulse of the current. You rise slowly to the surface, breaking through with a quiet exhale. Moonlight greets you once more. The waves lap at your shoulders, inviting you to stay a moment longer in their calm embrace. As you float there, Madagascar's coastline stretches like a dark ribbon in the distance. Palm trees sway softly. The night breeze brushes your face. You realize something simple and profound. Even in the wildest places, most life happens gently, quietly, deliberately. And as you walk back to shore, letting the warm sand cradle your feet, you can feel the next chapter calling, one shaped not by water or forest, but by stone, a world carved from limestone, rising like cathedral towers into the night. We turn now to the bright silence of the Chingi. Long before the sun rises, the land begins to shimmer with pale light, not from the sky, but from stone. You have reached the Chingi, Madagascar's labyrinth of ancient limestone, shaped over millions of years into a forest of stone blades, spires, and towers. Under the moon, the Chingi looks like a frozen sea. Waves of rock rising in jagged, intricate formations, each edge sharp and bright like silver knives catching starlight. But despite its dramatic appearance, the Chingi holds a quiet grace. You take your first step onto the stone, moving carefully but calmly. The surface is cool beneath your feet, textured with ancient grooves carved by water that vanished long ago. Between the towering formations, narrow passageways wind like secret corridors. Some are so small you must turn sideways to pass. Others open suddenly into wide, moonlit chambers where stone pillars rise like the columns of forgotten temples. Your footsteps echo faintly, a soft tapping rhythm that blends with the distant calls of night birds perched high above. But even the echoes feel gentle here, muted, absorbed by the vast stillness. Chingi means where one cannot walk barefoot, but tonight the stone feels forgiving. The air is warm. The wind moves delicately through the spires, creating an almost musical hum. Plants grow in impossible places, tiny succulents nesting in narrow cracks, ferns perched atop razor-like ridges, a small baobab rooted bravely in a pocket of soil no wider than your hand. Life, even here, finds a way with quiet resilience. A sifaka lemur appears above you, its white fur glowing in the moonlight. It leaps from one pinnacle to another, moving with extraordinary grace over terrain where you could barely place a foot. Its movement is soundless, a fluid arc, a gentle landing, a brief pause. Then another leap, like a dancer crossing a stage made of stars and stone. You follow its path with your eyes, feeling a soft amazement. In a world so sharp, its motion is pure softness. High above, the sky expands, the stars clearer here than anywhere you've been tonight. The air feels thinner, lighter, almost sacred. You climb a small ledge and sit for a moment, letting the stone cradle you. Its coolness seeps slowly into your skin, balancing the warmth of the night breeze. From this vantage point, you can see the Singi stretching toward the horizon, an ocean of stone waves frozen in time. And in this quiet, you understand something simple. Stillness can be vast. Stillness can be powerful. Stillness can be beautiful. The Singi teaches patience, persistence, and the art of standing firm through ages of wind and water. Yet even here, in a landscape shaped by sharpness, the night carries softness. A breeze brushes your face. A sifaka lands nearby with a soft thump. A nightjar bird glides silently overhead. The world continues its slow rhythms, asking nothing of you but to breathe and observe. You rise gently, descending from the stone ledge as the forest at the Tsingi's edge grows near. Ahead lie gentler lands once more, fields where birds weave stories into their nests, where grasses sway with morning light, where calm becomes the language of the land. We follow now toward the weavers of Madagascar's savanna. Morning has not yet arrived, but the night in Madagascar's savanna has begun to loosen, its darkness shifting into a softer gray, its wind carrying a gentler scent. You hear it before you see it. A subtle rustle, a faint tremble among long blades of grass, like fingers brushing lightly through silk. This is the world of Madagascar's weaver birds, the quiet craftsmen of the open plains. Though many are diurnal, some begin their work before dawn, their silhouettes barely visible against the dimming stars. You approach a cluster of tall grasses and low acacia trees. Hanging from the branches are dozens of woven nests, delicate spheres, intricate chambers, each suspended like a lantern of life. The craftsmanship is astonishing. Each nest is made from thin strands of grass, folded, knotted, and braided with a precision that feels almost impossible for such small beaks and bodies. But weavers are artists, patient ones, deliberate ones. You watch as a male weaver grasps a blade of fresh grass, its bright yellow feathers glowing faintly in the soon-to-arrive dawn. He pulls the blade taut, then threads it through the nest's frame with a fluid motion, twisting and looping, tightening and adjusting. Every movement is rhythmic, not rushed, not frantic, but steady and methodical. This is not merely building, it is storytelling. Each nest tells the history of its maker, how patient he was, how precise, how committed to creating a safe place for future life. Another weaver flutters past, carrying a long, flexible grass strand. He adds it to his nest, then perches nearby, tilting his head as though evaluating his work. Satisfied, he sings. It's not a loud song, just a soft, melodic trill that drifts over the savanna like warm smoke. A call of invitation, a call of readiness, a promise whispered into the air. You notice some nests hanging low, others high in the branches. Some are thick-walled and sturdy, others airy and delicate. Everyone is unique. Just as every bird, every dawn, every breath of wind has its own quiet identity. In the distance, a group of weavers begins to gather dry grass, their tiny feet hopping lightly along the ground. Their movements ripple through the tall grass like a gentle wave of golden motion. A soft breeze lifts the scent of dry earth and morning dew. The sky brightens slightly, a thin blue line forming at the edge of the horizon. And you realize something beautifully simple. The savanna is not silent. It just speaks in soft, intentional notes. A few meters away, a small tree hosts a cluster of nests. A female weaver approaches, landing near the opening of one. She inspects it carefully, stepping inside, turning slowly, testing the strength of each woven strand. The male waits on a nearby branch, his head tilted, quietly hopeful. If she approves, their partnership begins here. If not, he will simply continue weaving, patiently, effortlessly, until he gets it right. In this gentle ritual, you feel a lesson forming. Care is not forceful. Care is steady effort, repeated with patience, guided by quiet intention. As the sky continues to lighten, the weaver's activity grows. Dozens of them flutter and weave, creating a symphony of soft chirps, wing flutters, and the whisper of grass blades pulled taut. You take a slow breath, absorbing the sense of purpose in the air. Not hurried purpose, not pressured purpose, but a kind that flows naturally from instinct, from harmony, from belonging. The first rays of dawn begin to glow, a pale rose light settling over the savanna, turning every nest into a tiny golden orb. It is time to move on, to follow the light as it touches the roots of trees older than memory. Ahead lies a forest held together, not by branches above, but by the unseen networks below. We walk now toward the roots that hold the island. As the savanna brightens behind you, the air grows cooler, damp with the breath of ancient trees. You step into the threshold of one of Madagascar's older forests, a place where the true architecture of life lies beneath your feet. Roots, not just physical structures, but living threads connecting tree to tree, plant to plant, soil to life, life to soil. The forest is quiet here, not empty, but deeply, richly quiet. The kind of quiet you feel in your chest like a warm settling. Sunlight filters through leaves overhead, creating shifting patterns on the forest floor, tiny mosaics of gold and green. But it's the ground beneath you that holds the real story. You kneel, placing your hand lightly on the soil. It is cool, soft, dense, with living richness. Beneath the surface lies a world of networks, roots that stretch for meters, mycorrhizal fungi that weave intricate webs, microscopic exchanges of nutrients moving silently from one organism to another. It is a quiet economy of life, guided not by competition but by collaboration. A massive ebony tree rises before you, its trunk dark and smooth. Its roots twist outward in wide arches, breaking through the soil like the ribs of the earth. These roots have held this tree for centuries, through storms, droughts, winds, and seasons of change. A sifaka lemur hops gently across the forest floor, its white fur catching the faint morning light. It pauses near a cluster of roots, sniffing for fruit. Then it moves on with graceful, bounding leaps. Each creature in this forest understands the ground beneath it. Even those who live high in the canopy depend on the roots for food, water, stability, and pathfinding. You notice a young sapling nearby, small, delicate, its leaves trembling in the breeze. Its roots reach downward, seeking the threads of older neighbors. In many forests around the world, young trees struggle alone. But here, the network welcomes them, sharing resources, offering support. Science calls it a wood-wide web, but it feels more like a gentle family, silent but attentive, invisible but essential. The forest breathes around you. Birds call softly overhead. Leaves shift with the rise of early morning wind. Somewhere, the distant sounds of insects begin to warm into their daytime chorus. A fallen log lies ahead, its wood softened by decades of decomposition. Fungi bloom along its edges, tiny umbrellas in shades of amber and ivory. Decomposition is not loss here. It is transformation. The slow return of life to the soil. You step over the log and feel the ground grow firmer. The roots here are thicker, forming natural steps and pathways. A pangolin, rare, shy, a creature of scales and softness, shuffles across the path. Its curved claws move carefully, its long tail balancing each quiet step. It is a living reminder that even the most protected beings rely on the stability of earth beneath them. As you walk deeper, a thought emerges. Roots hold more than soil. They hold memory, connection, continuity. They are the hidden guardians of every forest, supporting life without being seen, offering nourishment without being thanked. And perhaps there is a gentle wisdom in that. Some of the most important things grow quietly underneath us, asking nothing but time and the chance to hold us steady. The forest begins to thin. Sunlight grows stronger. The undergrowth brightens with color. And ahead, you sense a warmth, a glow, as though centuries of sunlight have settled into the shells of ancient creatures. We walk now toward the tortoises that carry time on their backs. The forest canopy opens gradually, letting warm sunlight spill across the path. You feel it gather on your shoulders, soft and golden, as though the morning itself has decided to wrap you gently in its first embrace. Here, in the drier grasslands and shrub zones of Madagascar, life slows even more. Every movement deliberate, every breath unhurried. And then you see them, Madagascar's tortoises, moving through the morning light with the steady grace of ancient beings. The first one appears between two low bushes, its shell gleaming in patterns of gold and ebony. It walks slowly, each step placed with careful intention, as though the earth beneath it deserves the respect of mindful touch. These are radiated tortoises, among the most beautiful in the world. Their shells carry starburst patterns, lines that stretch outward like rays of frozen sunlight. Each shell is a mosaic of history and resilience. You approach quietly, and the tortoise pauses for a moment, stretching its long, wrinkled neck to examine a patch of flowers. Its eyes, dark, rounded, deeply aware, study the world not with urgency, but with patient curiosity. Everything about this creature moves to the rhythm of longevity. It eats slowly, chews slowly, blinks slowly, walks slowly, as though it has all the time it could ever need. Another tortoise emerges nearby, this one older, its shell darker, its pace even more measured. The grass bends gently beneath its weight, then rises again as if bowing respectfully to a well-traveled guest. A young tortoise, small as a bowl, follows its elder with endearing determination, lifting its legs high, pushing through the grass, learning the world one tiny step at a time. Tortoises live decades, some live a century or more. They carry time on their backs, weathering seasons, storms, droughts, and the slow turn of the planet beneath them. You sit on a warm rock for a moment, watching them move through sun patches with steady balance. The air around you smells of dry earth, fresh leaves, and the faint sweetness of blossoming shrubs. Birdsong begins to vibrate through the air, gentle melodic calls that weave through the tortoise's slow rhythm like soft strings in a peaceful orchestral piece. A pair of photes, small red birds, flutter above, perching briefly on a rock before hopping into low branches. Meanwhile, the tortoises continue their pilgrimage, guided not by urgency, but by instinct and sunlight. You notice the way their shells catch the light, each starburst glowing softly as shadows slide across their curved forms. There's a lesson in their pace. Hurrying rarely gets you further. Steady progress, quiet perseverance, gentle consistency, these move you through life with deeper harmony. The tortoise lifts its head, turning toward a distant cluster of prickly pears. Its steps stretch into a long, deliberate journey, one it will complete eventually, with patience as its only compass. As you follow the tortoise's path, the soundscape shifts subtly. Leaves rustle, wind stirs through grass. Insects begin their daytime chorus, a blend of chirps and hums that fold into the morning like threads in a tapestry. Then, gradually, the chorus fades. The terrain changes again. The light dims. You step into the forest shadow once more. Not the deep rainforest, but a softer night world awakening just as day begins. The domain of Madagascar's nocturnal mammals. We walk now into the kingdom of quiet ears and hidden sounds, the world of creatures who live by listening. Madagascar's daylight creatures stir and rustle, but this land is also shaped by those whose worlds come alive when the sun sinks low and shadows stretch long. Tonight, you return to the gentle hush of nighttime, a world shaped by sound more than sight. Here, among twisting branches and leaf-strewn paths, live Madagascar's most extraordinary nighttime listeners. Aye-ayes, tenrecs, mouse lemurs, and other nocturnal mammals whose senses tell stories the eyes cannot. The forest light is dim, filtered through high branches that sway softly with the evening breeze. The air cools again, carrying hints of fruit, bark sap, and the faint sweetness of night-blooming flowers. You stand quietly, allowing the forest to settle around you. Then you hear it. Small, gentle taps against a hollow branch. The sound is rhythmic, almost like someone tapping lightly on a wooden drum. An aye-aye appears, a strange magical creature with large, wisp-soft ears and bright eyes that shine like polished amber. It taps the branch again, finding pockets of insects hidden within. Its long, thin middle finger, almost impossibly slender, moves with delicate precision, reaching into crevices to pull out its hidden meal. There is something hypnotic in the way it listens, ears rotating, head tilting, eyes narrowing in concentration. It reminds you that listening is its own form of intelligence. Nearby, another sound emerges, a faint scurrying through leaf litter, punctuated by soft sniffs. A tenrec, tiny, spined, and endlessly curious, makes its way toward a patch of moss. Its movements are gentle, almost cautious, its small nose quivering as it explores the ground. Tenrecs may look like hedgehogs, but they're their own ancient lineage. Creatures evolved on this island long before many mammals found their way here. Their quiet presence feels like a whisper from deep time. You follow a narrow path, your footsteps light, your breath steady. The night thickens around you, but it doesn't feel heavy, only full. A branch trembles above. You look up and see a mouse lemur, the tiniest of primates, its huge eyes glowing softly in the dark. It leaps effortlessly from one thin branch to another, landing with barely a sound, its tail streaming behind it like a trail of soft shadow. It moves with quick, delicate grace, sniffing a flower here, pausing to observe a beetle there, always attuned to the smallest shifts in the air. You pause, letting the nocturnal symphony wash over you, the chirping of hidden insects, the distant hoot of an owl, the soft rustle of leaves in gentle wind. Each sound is a note. Together, they form a nocturnal lullaby, one not meant to excite, but to soothe. You imagine lying down on a bed of moss, eyes drifting closed, letting these sounds carry you into deeper rest. The forest feels safe here, cradling you, holding you gently in its nighttime heartbeat. Another eye appears on a thick branch above, its silhouette moving slowly against the dim light. It pauses, scratches lightly at the bark, and turns its large ears toward you. Not fearful, simply curious, as though acknowledging your presence in its midnight workshop. You exhale. Your breath blends with the cool forest air. Your thoughts soften, moving as quietly as the creatures around you. This is a kingdom built on subtlety, where survival depends not on speed or strength, but on awareness, the kind that listens deeply, moves gently, and respects the quietness of night. And in watching these creatures, you feel a subtle transformation inside. Your senses slow, your mind clears, your awareness shifts from thinking to simply being. Ahead, the path glows faintly with the beginning shimmer of bioluminescent insects, tiny stars drifting through the understory. We follow them now, toward the forest's small engineers, toward the quiet workers who renew the world beneath our feet. Not all heroes of the forest swing from branches or glide beneath waves. Some move quietly at ground level, shaping the world grain by grain, leaf by leaf, moment by moment, never asking to be noticed. Tonight, we walk into their realm. The forest floor is dim and rich, a soft bed of fallen leaves that releases the warm scent of earth with every step you take. The air is still, but alive, filled with tiny movements, tiny breaths, tiny lives. You kneel beside a rotting log, its wood soft as sponge. Touch it gently. It yields slightly, not weak, but generous. Inside this log, entire communities thrive. Beetles tunneling through wood fibers, millipedes curling through tunnels, fungi weaving invisible threads from one end to the other. A single beetle appears on the bark, black, shiny, its antennae trembling as it walks. It stops, then begins to chew at the softened wood, breaking it down into smaller and smaller pieces. This simple act does more than it seems. It turns the old into the new. It accelerates decay, enriching the soil that will feed future plants, trees, and flowers. Farther along the forest floor, a colony of ants moves like a living river, tiny bodies flowing around obstacles with astonishing unity. Each ant carries something: a crumb of leaf, a grain of soil, a fragment of bark. The precision of their movement feels almost musical. Every ant has a role. Every role supports the whole. They do not rush. They simply act with purpose, a quiet, collective purpose that keeps the forest alive. Nearby, you spot a mushroom cluster, caps rounded like tiny umbrellas, their undersides traced with delicate gills. Mushrooms are only the visible parts of fungi, the fruiting bodies. Beneath the soil lies the real organism, a vast network of mycelium linking roots to roots, carrying nutrients, supporting growth. It is a silent intelligence, not a mind, but a system of communication and generosity. As you sit quietly, a small tenrec appears at the edge of a leaf pile. Its pointed nose twitches eagerly as it nudges aside loose soil, searching for insects beneath. It digs with tiny paws, scattering earth in soft arcs, turning over what needs to be refreshed, mixing air into the soil. Every creature contributes in its own subtle way. Even the worms, unseen but tireless, pull fallen leaves underground, enriching the soil and giving life to future roots. The forest floor may seem humble, low, hidden, but it is a sanctuary of transformation. Every fallen branch becomes food. Every decaying leaf becomes nourishment. Every bit of waste is turned into potential. Nothing is lost. Everything is reused, reshaped, reborn. You run your fingers through a patch of damp soil and feel the coolness seep into your skin. It feels ancient, filled with the past, but also the promise of tomorrow. A soft breeze rustles the canopy above. Shafts of faint morning light pierce through the leaves and reach the forest floor like gentle fingertips. The tiny engineers below pause briefly in this new glow, then continue their work. Their quiet industry reminds you, not all important work is loud. Some of the world's greatest transformations happen silently in the background, while no one is watching. And as you follow the winding path, the sound of distant thunder rolls softly across the sky, not threatening, not forceful, but promising something essential. Rain. The forest takes a slow, collective breath as we walk toward the beginning of its most life-giving ritual. Before the first raindrop falls, the world seems to hold itself perfectly still. The air thickens with anticipation. The leaves grow heavy with waiting. Even the animals pause, ears alert, bodies quiet, eyes turned toward the sky. Madagascar knows rain intimately. It shapes the island, feeds its forests, awakens its rivers, and decides the rhythm of life. You breathe in deeply. The scent comes first, the smell of damp earth rising from the forest floor like incense. Petrichor, a promise. Clouds gather slowly overhead, rolling in soft, gray layers across the sky. They do not rush. They arrive with the patience of something inevitable. A soft rumble of thunder vibrates through the ground beneath you. Not loud, just a gentle clearing of the sky's throat. The leaves anticipate. They angle themselves forward, ready to drink. A lemur lifts its face, eyes half closed, as though greeting an old friend. You can feel the air cooling, shifting, opening, and then a single drop, a soft, round tap on a leaf beside you. Another drop falls, then another. Soon the canopy is sprinkled in tiny impacts that sound like whispers from above. The rain begins lightly, a fine mist drifting between branches, catching light in shimmering droplets. You hold out your hand and feel the gentle touch of water meeting skin. There is something deeply soothing about the first moments of rain. It speaks in soft, scattered rhythms, a music made of nature's smallest notes. You walk slowly along the forest path as the drizzle grows into a steady fall. The leaves shimmer with beads of water, each droplet forming a tiny lens through which the world bends and softens. Moss brightens into deeper greens. Tree trunks darken, their patterns becoming more pronounced. The forest fills with new energy, not frantic, but refreshed. A group of Sifaka lemurs huddles together on a high branch. Their fur fluffed, their eyes blinking gently against the falling rain. They speak in soft murmurs, chirps, clicks, the language of reassurance. The tenrecs retreat into burrows. Moths cling to the undersides of leaves. Even the ever-curious mouse lemur pauses its wanderings, content to wait in the shelter of a thick branch. The rain continues, steady, patient, a teacher in its own right. Rain does not demand movement. It invites stillness. It encourages the forest to pause, to absorb, to renew. You find a wide tree and stand beneath its broad canopy, watching the forest shift from anticipation to acceptance. Every raindrop that strikes the leaves creates a soft chain reaction, a downward path from leaf to branch to trunk to soil. Each drop becomes a gift to the roots below, awakening seeds, nourishing the underground networks, providing life for future growth. The ground begins to release its rich, earthy aroma. It smells like beginning, like nourishment, like time itself resetting gently. You close your eyes and listen. The rain has become a lullaby, a steady whisper of falling water that calms the mind and loosens the knots of the day. Your breath naturally syncs with the rhythm, inhaling during the soft tap of drops on leaves, exhaling during the gentle patter against the forest floor. There is peace in knowing that you cannot hurry rain. You cannot slow it. You can only experience it as it is. The rain, in its patient descent, teaches one of nature's quiet truths. Growth happens at its own pace. Not yours, not mine. The world unfolds in the timing it requires. As the shower softens, the sound shifts once more, from patter to drip, from wide chorus to individual notes. The forest glows with fresh life. Leaves hang heavy with droplets. The air feels smoother, cleaner, gentler. Ahead, the path brightens, the rain lightens, and the landscapes begin to open again toward the broader philosophies held by this ancient island. We walk now into the realm of reflection, toward the memory of land and the deeper meanings living in Madagascar's quiet wild. Some landscapes feel old because of the age of their stones. Others feel old because of the stories they have held for longer than memory can reach. Madagascar is both. And as you walk through the forest after the rain has quieted, you can feel the age of the island in every scent, every shadow, every breath of wind moving through the leaves. The soil beneath your feet is a tapestry of time, volcanic ash from eruptions ancient as forgotten empires, sediments carried from mountains long worn down. the remains of forests that existed before the first human voice ever echoed across the plains. Madagascar remembers, not with words, not with conscious thought, but with life that evolved here while the rest of the world changed in distant rhythms. This island broke away from mainland Africa around 160 million years ago, and in that vast separation, it became its own universe, a pocket of Earth where evolution created masterpieces found nowhere else. Every leaf, every creature, every root system holds a chapter of that story. As you walk along a damp forest path, you notice a massive baobab tree standing like a quiet monument. Its trunk is thick, its bark smooth and silver, its branches reaching upward like arms extending toward the past. The baobab remembers droughts that dried the rivers to cracked lattices. It remembers storms so fierce that even the strongest limbs bent. It remembers entire generations of animals seeking shade beneath it, seeking shelter, seeking the comfort of its presence. A lemur leaps overhead, its feet landing with a soft thud on the bark. It pauses, glances at you, and moves on, its tail curving like a question mark trailing behind it. Even this lemur is a fragment of the island's memory, a descendant of the small primates that floated here long ago, carried unknowingly by ancient currents, finding in this land a refuge from time itself. The forest opens to a clearing where sunlight pools on the ground in bright, shifting patterns. Tiny insects lift themselves into spirals of light, their wings catching the brightness in little flashes. They too are part of the island's memory, species shaped by isolation, each one a clue to how life persisted, adapting to drought and rain, heat and shadow. You walk further. Ahead lies a rocky outcrop overlooking a wide valley. From here, the land stretches outward like a green sea, waves of canopy rising and falling beneath the slow drift of clouds. The valley breathes with life, birds weaving arcs through the sky, butterflies drifting like petals, grass bending in shimmering waves. You sit on a smooth stone and let the island speak to you in the only ways it knows, through heat rising off the earth, through wind humming against your skin, through the scent of wet bark and distant blossoms. It is not language in the human sense, but it is communication, quiet, ancient, meaningful. As you breathe, you feel yourself sinking with the island's pace. No hurry, no pressure, no expectation, just presence. You think of how the world rushes, how days blur, how years flash past, how memories sometimes slip away before they fully form. But here, on this island that remembers everything, time opens, slows, softens, and in that softness, something inside you loosens like a knot finally untying. Madagascar teaches that memory is not simply what is held, but also what is allowed to settle, what is accepted, absorbed, and carried gently into the next season. You stand again, feeling the stone warm beneath your feet. The path ahead curves into deeper forests, deeper reflections, and deeper understanding. For the island has more to teach, not just about its past, but about its quiet wisdom woven through every ecosystem it holds. We walk now toward the intelligence that breathes quietly through Madagascar's interconnected wild. When people speak of intelligence, they often think of problem solving, tools, language, complex behaviors. But nature has its own intelligence, a kind that moves without thought, responds without noise, adapts without hurry. As you re-enter the forest, the trees seem to lean closer, as if listening for your approach. But the feeling is mutual. You begin listening to them, not for words, but for patterns. Every leaf is placed to catch the right angle of light. Every root grows toward moisture hidden deep below. Every vine reaches for a hold that will lift it toward canopy brightness. These choices are not random. They are not passive. They are ancient forms of quiet intelligence. You stop by a strangler fig, a tree that begins life in the branches of another before slowly sending roots downward to the forest floor. It does not grow fast. It does not rush. Its intelligence is strategic, finding light first, foundation second. A plan written in genetics long before humans ever imagined planning. Nearby, orchids cling to high branches, balancing themselves with delicate roots that grip bark like gentle fingers. They bloom without soil, without deep roots, without the things most plants consider essential. Their intelligence is independence, thriving in places others cannot reach. A troop of sifakas moves through the canopy above, white fur glowing in shafts of light, their long limbs swinging with practiced confidence. Their intelligence lies not in speech, but in movement, knowing which branch will bend, which will support, which will carry them safely to the next. Below, a fungus spreads through a fallen log, invisible threads digesting wood and redistributing nutrients to the soil. This network keeps the forest alive, a silent communication between roots and microbes, leaves and earth, life and death. As you walk, you begin to see the forest differently, not as individual organisms, but as a single mind, a single body, a single living system made of thousands of interwoven decisions. A breeze moves through the trees, and the leaves respond, bending in unison, rustling in a tone that feels almost conversational. Rain puddles along the path, reflecting the canopy in trembling liquid mirrors. Frogs gather around them, their throats pulsing as they release soft calls into the air. Their intelligence is timing, knowing when to sing, when to hide, when to lay eggs in the ephemeral pools that last only days. Every creature here moves with purpose, with awareness, with quiet intention. And as you witness these patterns, you feel something gentle rise inside you. Wisdom is everywhere if you slow down enough to see it. The forest does not brag. It does not assert. It does not strive to prove itself. It simply grows in the direction of what nourishes it. You sit on a fallen branch, feeling its spongy texture beneath your hands. It once stood tall, reaching towards sunlight. Now it lies here, giving itself to fungi, to insects, to soil. Even in decay, it participates in the intelligence of the forest, a different role, but no less essential. You inhale deeply. The forest breathes with you. The wind hums through the leaves. Life continues its quiet decisions. Ahead, the path brightens, not from sunlight, but from understanding. You sense another shift coming, one that will reveal the poetry of survival written not just by individuals, but by entire ecosystems. We walk now toward the art of adaptation. Adaptation is often spoken about as strategy, as survival, as necessity, as the way life reshapes itself to fit the world. But here, in Madagascar, adaptation feels less like strategy and more like art. A quiet, subtle poetry written across bodies, colors, shapes, and behaviors. You step into a clearing where sunlight filters lightly through the canopy, and the forest seems almost choreographed. Every creature, every leaf, every thread of spider silk placed with quiet deliberation. A chameleon rests on a branch nearby, its skin slowly shifting from soft green to gentle amber as clouds move across the sun. Its colors do not scream for attention. They blend, they harmonize, they whisper. Adaptation as gentleness. A few meters away, a leaf-tailed gecko flattens itself against a tree trunk. Its edges ripple like the torn margins of an old leaf. You could stare for minutes and still not see where the creature begins and the bark ends. Adaptation as disappearance, as stillness that speaks volumes. You walk deeper into the forest. There, a sifaka leaps between two distant branches, a jump so wide and so effortless that it looks like flight. Its limbs extend, its body arcs, its landing is soft. It is moving not simply to survive, but to express something fundamental in its nature: grace, ease, freedom. Adaptation as elegance. Even the plants here hold their own verses of this poetry. Tall trees reach their branches not straight upward but sideways, creating shelves of light where orchids and ferns can thrive. Climbing vines coil with astonishing patience, turning, testing, feeling their way toward a future support they have never seen, but somehow trust to exist. Adaptation is trust. A strange plant catches your eye, a patchy podium, thick-trunked and spined, with a crown of delicate flowers balancing atop like a whispered joke from evolution. Even the harshest shapes can hide beauty. Adaptation as paradox. The spiny forest taught you that sharpness can protect life in places where water is scarce. The rainforests taught you that softness thrives where nourishment is abundant. The reefs showed that color itself can be a tool, a warning, a shield. Everywhere you look, the island is writing its own poem of how life learns, adjusts, shapes itself in rhythm with its surroundings. A small bird hops onto a branch near you. Its beak is long, longer than seems reasonable for its tiny frame. But then you see why. It dips its beak deep into a tubular flower, reaching nectar no other creature can access. Adaptation as relationship. Some creatures have adapted together. Coevolution. Two lives woven through time until one cannot thrive without the other. A moth with a tongue impossibly long, crafted to match the depth of a specific orchid, drinks in the cool dawn air. Without this moth, the orchid wouldn't survive. Without the orchid, the moth would starve. Adaptation as companionship. The more you observe, the more you feel a truth rising within you. Adaptation is not just survival, it is belonging, a way life sings itself into harmony with the world. The forest around you shifts again. A warm breeze moves through the undergrowth, stirring leaves in soft spirals. You follow a narrow path, your steps guided by curiosity and the soft hush of the forest's breath. Ahead, the landscape widens into open sky, a place where the seasons themselves seem to breathe in long, slow cycles. We walk now toward those seasons and the gentle rhythm of their change. Madagascar does not rush its seasons. It eases into them, slowly, softly, like someone turning the pages of a long, beloved book. You step into a landscape shaped by time. The air feels different here, lighter, broader, open like a deep breath. In many places, seasons snap sharply from one state to another. Summer into autumn, winter into spring. Abrupt shifts felt in cold gusts or sudden warmth. But here, the transitions unfold like dusk, gradual, gentle, settling. The dry season arrives first. The land becomes warm, dust rises in slow spirals, and the sky glows a pale, endless blue. Grasses turn golden, trees conserve their leaves, and animals move at unhurried paces to preserve energy. You imagine the heat settling on your skin like a soft, heavy blanket. It does not overwhelm, it simply lingers. During this season, the baobabs stand as guardians of water, their swollen trunks holding precious reservoirs that sustain life around them. The nights are cool, clear, filled with bright constellations and whispers of wind. Then, almost imperceptibly, the air begins to change. Clouds gather slowly, hesitant at first. The first rains do not rush. They arrive as mist, as drizzle, as small droplets testing the air before committing to the earth. This is the beginning of the wet season. You feel the forest respond, leaves uncurling, shoots pushing upward, flowers preparing to open. The scent of damp soil fills the air with memory of storms yet to come, of rivers ready to rise, of seeds waiting for their moment. When the full rains finally arrive, they come like a hymn, steady, rhythmic, cleansing. The land drinks deeply, rivers fill their beds, waterfalls swell and carve new shapes into stone. Frogs gather in temporary pools, calling for mates in trills that sound like laughter. Birds feast on insects drawn to the moist air. Lemurs leap with renewed energy, their movements bright and playful. You watch, breathing in the transformation, how life wakes not with urgency, but with a gradual reopening. The wet season brings abundance, and with it, a sense of release. Colors deepen, textures soften. The entire island seems to sigh in relief. As the rains ease and the land dries once more, the cycle repeats, slow, steady, grounded. There is wisdom in this rhythm. Nature does not rush its changes. It lets them unfold in the time required. You stand in the soft light, feeling the shifting air, warm one moment, cool the next, like the island exhaling its seasons. In this place where time moves gently, you feel your own pace adjust. Your thoughts slow, your breath deepens, your mind quiets. The island is teaching you to welcome change without fear, to let transitions be gradual, to allow each season of life to arrive when it's ready. Ahead, a new kind of rhythm waits, the rhythm of cooperation, where life forms bonds not out of need, but out of quiet, mutual benefit. We walk now toward the unseen relationships that sustain Madagascar's wild harmony. Cooperation in nature is often quieter than competition. It does not roar, it does not chase, it does not seek attention. It happens in soft exchanges, in shared spaces, shared rhythms, shared needs that overlap in delicate, unintended harmony. Madagascar, with its ancient isolation, is a masterpiece of such subtle partnerships. You step into a forest clearing as a faint breeze stirs the leaves overhead. Sunlight falls in broken patterns across the ground, revealing a series of interactions so small, so gentle, you could easily miss them. A tiny orchid clings to the bark of a tall tree, not rooted into the soil, but perched lightly on the trunk, its thin roots gripping the rough surface. It does not harm the tree. It simply borrows elevation, a higher seat to catch the morning light, and in return, its flowers attract pollinators that also visit the tree's own blossoms. A quiet exchange. Nearby, ants move in elegant lines along a vine. They tend aphids, protecting them from predators in exchange for the sweet droplets the aphids produce. A partnership written not in intention, but in instinct. You notice a fallen fruit on the ground, half eaten, its seeds exposed. A lemur had fed here earlier. Now, the forest floor creatures burst into gentle activity. insects nibbling the rind, birds pecking the edges, fungi preparing to settle into the leftover flesh. Nothing is wasted, nothing is isolated. Even in decay, life participates in life. You walk a little farther. A chameleon sits on a branch not far from a flowering plant. When it moves, its slow, deliberate steps cause the branch to sway, just enough to shake loose a puff of pollen that drifts into the air. The plant benefits. The chameleon continues its quiet hunt. Neither intended the interaction, yet both receive something from it. Cooperation without awareness. Up ahead, you hear the gentle buzz of a hawk moth. It hovers near a night-blooming flower, its long proboscis reaching deep into the nectar-filled chamber. The flower evolved to open only at night. The moth evolved a tongue long enough to reach it. A perfect match, as if the two species wrote each other into existence. In the distance, two sifakas groom one another on a high branch. Their movements are soft, methodical, carefully parting fur, picking away tiny bits of debris. They could survive without grooming, but grooming strengthens their bond, builds trust, deepens communication, a cooperation of affection. On the forest floor, a tenrec scurries through leaf litter, stirring insects that a nearby bird quickly darts to catch. The bird benefits. The tenrec continues its search. Neither is aware of the other, yet they move in tandem, partners in motion. The more you observe, the more you understand. Cooperation in nature is not always chosen. Sometimes it simply emerges because the world is interconnected. Every movement affects something else. Every sound changes a rhythm. Every breath alters the air. This is the intelligence of Madagascar's wild, not conscious collaboration, but natural alignment. You sit beneath a tree and feel the warmth of the earth beneath you. Roots interlace underground, sharing nutrients, communicating chemical signals, supporting their neighbors through unseen threads. Science calls these interactions mutualisms, facilitations, synergistic relationships, but the forest calls them life, soft, shared, unspoken life. As you breathe, it feels easier to imagine that humans, too, are part of this interconnected web, influenced by the slightest gestures, uplifted by quiet kindness, shaped by the rhythms of those we share our world with. A gentle wind moves through the clearing, lifting leaves into soft, swirling patterns. The forest seems to sigh, content, balanced, whole. Ahead, the atmosphere shifts again. The bright season gives way to softer endings, gentler beginnings, and the cycles that carry life forward. We walk now toward the patterns of renewal, toward endings that are not endings, but beginnings in disguise. In Madagascar, endings are rarely final. They are pauses, turning points, gateways into new forms of life. You step into a grove where the air feels heavier, thicker with the scent of ripe fruit, decaying leaves, and the quiet warmth of transition. A large tree has fallen recently. Its trunk lies across the forest floor like a great wooden bridge, a reminder that even giants must bow to age, wind, or time. Yet, even in its fallen state, the tree radiates purpose. Moss grows in dense emerald patches along its bark. Fungi bloom like tiny umbrellas in shades of cream and amber. Insects scurry in and out of crevices, finding home and food in its softened wood. A small lizard darts across the trunk, pausing to soak up the warmth stored in the fallen bark. Life continues, not despite the tree's end, but because of it. You run your hand slowly along the rough wood, It is softening, surrendering itself to countless quiet processes that will, over years, turn it back into soil. This is the forest's promise. Nothing is lost. Everything returns to the cycle that made it. A little farther along the path, you see a patch of ground where fire passed months before. The soil is dark, charred, seemingly lifeless. But look closer. Tiny green shoots push through the ash. A few blades of grass tremble in the breeze. A seedling tree rises, gentle and determined. Fire ended the old, yet it also cleared space, released nutrients, and opened sunlight to the waiting earth. Endings making room for beginnings. A fruit drops from a nearby tree, landing with a soft, earthy thud. Its flesh will feed insects. Its seeds may root into soil. Its scent will attract creatures who help distribute life through their movements. You watch as a lemur approaches the fallen fruit, paws soft against the ground. It takes a slow bite, eyes half-lidded in pleasure, then hops away with juice glistening on its fur. The fruit's journey continues inside the lemur, seeds carried to new ground, spread into places the tree could never reach alone. Another ending, transforming into possibility. You continue down the path and come upon a clearing filled with butterflies. Their wings shimmer in pastel hues, soft blues, gentle yellows, and pale oranges that glow faintly in the filtered light. Butterflies live brief lives, yet each one carries out a vital step in the endless cycle, pollinating flowers, feeding birds, returning to soil. Brief endings, endless beginnings. You sit on a large stone and take in the quiet motion around you. Leaves fall with soft rustles. Flowers close their petals as the day cools. Birds settle onto branches, tucking their heads under their wings. Everything is shifting subtly, moving into rest so it may rise again. And as you breathe, you begin to feel the truth in your own body. Endings do not erase you. They reshape you. They make you ready for the next moment of growth. Just as Madagascar accepts its fallen trees, its expired blossoms, its burnt grasslands, you too are allowed to let parts of yourself settle, soften, disappear, so new parts can emerge gently. Ahead, the landscape grows calmer, the colors deepen, the air cools. A slower season approaches, one shaped by patience, stillness, and the quiet wisdom of moving through life without rush. We walk now toward the serenity of slowness. In a world that often rushes, pushes, and demands speed, Madagascar offers a different kind of wisdom, one shaped not by haste, but by the delicate art of moving slowly. You step into a quiet clearing where sunlight hangs in soft ribbons between tree trunks. The ground is warm beneath your feet, covered in golden grasses that sway gently with the afternoon breeze. Here, the island's slowest wanderers express a truth that feels ancient. A small radiated tortoise moves across the clearing, its patterned shell gleaming like a sunburst. Each step is placed with mindful precision. Its legs lift, hold, and lower with the weight of time itself. It is not trying to be anywhere quickly. It is simply being where it is, as it is. A few feet away, a chameleon inches along a thin branch, one foot lifting, toes curling, then gripping with gentle certainty. Its tail coils slowly behind it, balancing every movement with quiet grace. The chameleon does not drift into stillness because it must. It does so because stillness is part of its language. You watch it pause, body held in perfect equilibrium, eyes moving independently, scanning the world from two different viewpoints. If anything approaches too quickly, the chameleon simply remains still, trusting its camouflage more than its speed. At the edge of the clearing, a tenrec shuffles through dry leaves, nose twitching in small, soft arcs. Its movements are not hurried. They are careful, deliberate, rooted in the moment. Slow motion here is not a weakness. It is a strategy, a philosophy, a way of preserving energy, of listening to the world, of honoring each step. Even the plants echo this principle. A towering baobab stands in the distance, its growth measured in centuries, not seasons. Its trunk holds water for the long, dry months, a living reservoir built one slow inch at a time. Its patience is carved into every ring within it, every thick fold of bark. You sit beneath a tamarind tree, its leaves trembling lightly as wind whispers through them. The view from here is gentle and wide. Time feels as though it has softened, stretched out, relaxed, easy. In this place, you begin to sense something quietly profound. Slowness is not the opposite of progress. Slowness is a form of wisdom, the kind that keeps you connected to what matters. You inhale deeply. The air holds scents of dry grass, warm bark, and faint traces of wildflowers. The breeze is soft enough to settle your breath. Your chest rises slowly, falls slowly, each cycle melting tension from your shoulders. A sifaka leaps in the distance. Though its leaps are fast and powerful, it pauses for long intervals, listening to the forest, scanning its surroundings, settling into a state of alert calmness. Even the fast creatures honor the pace of the land. Across from you, a small pond gleams in golden light. Water striders skate along the surface, their legs creating ripples that spread in perfect, expanding circles. Each ripple takes its time. Each one completes its path without rush, without interruption. You watch the ripples meet the edges of the pond, arriving exactly when they're meant to. If you stay still long enough, you might notice your own heart mirroring this rhythm, steady, slow, peaceful. In this clearing, you realize how much of modern life tells you to accelerate, to do more, be more, move faster. But the forest whispers something else. Slow down. You are allowed to move like the tortoise, like the chameleon, like the leaf drifting from branch to ground. The sun lowers on the horizon, painting the clearing in bronze and honey. The animals slip quietly into the undergrowth. The air cools, carrying the first hints of evening. Ahead, you sense a deeper philosophy waiting, one shaped by all you've seen. Roots, rivers, seasons, creatures shifting in delicate balance. We walk now toward the lesson that Madagascar has been gently preparing all along. What nature teaches about letting go. Letting go sounds difficult when spoken in human voices. It carries echoes of loss, of change, of fear. But in the wild, especially here in Madagascar, letting go is woven into everything. It is not something dramatic. It is not something forced. It is simply a natural rhythm. You step into a quiet valley, its air cool with evening shadows. The land feels softened, its edges blurred by dusk, its colors muted into gentle shades of blue and gold. A baobab stands before you, its branches nearly bare. As the dry season began, it released its leaves one by one, not out of distress, but out of wisdom, letting go to conserve strength, letting go to survive drought, letting go so that, when the rains return, it can burst into fresh life. Nearby, a tamarind tree sheds the last of its pods, dropping them into the soil with soft thumps. Its fruits nourish the ground, feed passing animals, and bury seeds that may one day rise into new trees. Letting go, becoming nourishment. You walk further and see a small stream shrinking with the end of the wet season. Its flow slows, narrows, fades. But look closely. Beneath the shallow water, tiny fish swim calmly, algae blooms gently, and aquatic plants begin to retreat into their dormant forms, letting go of abundance to survive scarcity. In a spiny forest, you spot a succulent plant releasing the last of its blooms. Its flowers wilt, dry up, and fall onto the sand. But within each fallen blossom is a seed, a bundle of possibility waiting patiently for the right moment to awaken. Letting go to create space for new beginnings. You pause near a tall fern, watching one of its fronds curl inward as it dries. It has lived its cycle, unfurling, absorbing light, dancing in the wind, and now delicately folds back to the earth, letting go as part of the dance. Even animals know this truth. A lemur grooming itself removes loose fur, dead hairs falling into the breeze to line a bird's nest. A chameleon abandons a color pattern that no longer suits the temperature or mood. A tortoise forgets the heat of midday as dusk arrives, settling into the cool earth with acceptance. You find a fallen leaf at your feet. Its veins are visible in the fading light, a map of once flowing life. You hold it gently. It is fragile, delicate, but beautiful. It reminds you of everything you've seen, the rivers that shrink, the flowers that fall, the trails that animals abandon in favor of new paths. Every part of Madagascar has taught the same quiet truth. Letting go is not the end. It is a transition, a natural part of renewal. You stand for a moment, letting this truth settle into your breath. The wind moves softly through the valley, lifting the leaf from your hand and carrying it gently across the grass. You watch it float, slow, weightless, free. Above, the sky shifts into twilight. Birdsong fades. The first stars appear. Ahead, the path leads toward deeper stillness, toward the soft descent into night's embrace, toward the part of the journey that holds rest, closure, and the comforting rhythm of returning home. We walk now into the descent. Night folds itself gently over Madagascar once more, like a soft blanket drawn across the sky. You walk along a quiet trail, one you've traveled before in a different light, with different questions stirring gently in your mind. The forest is dim, yet not dark. Fireflies drift between branches like floating embers, and moonlight settles on the leaves in a pale, silvery glow. This is the part of the journey where thoughts loosen their grip, where reflections soften, and where you return to the question whispered long ago. What does an island remember? It's a question that first emerged beneath the trembling canopy when the night was young and you had only begun to glimpse the quiet intelligence of Madagascar. Now, after rivers and reefs, after tortoises and lemurs, after seasons and stillness, you find yourself circling back, not seeking an answer, but letting the question widen, bloom and breathe. You pause beside an old baobab, its trunk wide and warm, holding centuries of sunlight within its thick heartwood. Its presence feels like an elder, steady, rooted, soft-spoken. If the island remembers anything, surely the baobab remembers most of all. You place your palm against the cool bark, quietly listening. The forest around you hushes, as though holding its breath with yours. Perhaps the island remembers the shifting of continents, when Madagascar drifted away from ancient land masses and became its own world. Perhaps it remembers the first lemurs arriving on floating rafts of vegetation, the ocean delivering them gently like gifts to new shores. You take a slow step forward. Leaves whisper overhead, rustling with the faintest echo of stories carried across epochs. Perhaps the island remembers the first rains of the wet season, centuries ago. The rains that woke seeds buried long before any eye witnessed their bloom. Perhaps it remembers the quiet migrations of tiny creatures moving into empty ecological spaces and shaping entire lineages of life. The path continues, curving between tall ferns that sway softly in the night wind. You follow, your heartbeat steady, your breath slow. The question beneath the leaves grows gentler. Maybe the island remembers not events, but rhythms. The rhythm of roots finding their way through soil, the rhythm of waves carving shorelines with patient repetition, the rhythm of creatures moving through seasons with instinctive trust. You pause near a clearing. A single lemur sits on a high branch, its silhouette outlined against the moon's silver disk. It watches you with calm curiosity, then turns its gaze upward, as though remembering something beyond the present moment. What does Madagascar remember? Perhaps the answer has nothing to do with time and everything to do with connection. You look around at the lacework of branches, at the moss glowing faintly with dew, at the steady, eternal pulse of nocturnal insects in the distance. Every part of this island is connected, soil to roots, roots to trunks, trunks to leaves, leaves to rain, rain to river, river to sea. Memory then might simply be continuity, the way life continues despite endings, the way growth emerges despite decay, the way stillness forms in the quiet spaces between breaths, between seasons, between thoughts. You inhale slowly, letting the warm air settle your mind. The forest doesn't need an answer. It only needed you to return to the question with quieter eyes, softer expectations, and a gentler presence. As you stand in the clearing, you feel the island's memory not as something spoken, but as something lived. It lives in the ground beneath your feet. It lives in the leaves above your head. It lives in the breath of the lemur watching from the branch, and in the deep, steady wisdom of the baobab behind you. What does the island remember? Everything it needs to. And in that truth, you feel something soften inside, a tension loosening, a thought dissolving, a quiet returning. Ahead, the trail leads toward a deeper stillness, toward the soft conclusions held within Madagascar's night. We continue now into part 33, where the answers grow simpler and the heart grows quieter. The night deepens, but instead of growing darker, it feels warmer, as though the air itself has wrapped you in a slow, comforting embrace. You walk along a path lined with glowing moss and delicate ferns that bow softly as nighttime wind moves through them. This section of the journey is quieter than the rest. Not empty, just tender. It is where Madagascar reveals conclusions not through explanations, but through sensations. You hear the soft rustle of a chameleon shifting on a branch above. Its movement is so slow, so subtle, that you feel it more than see it. A conclusion. Not all progress needs to be visible. You watch a radiated tortoise settle its weight into a patch of warm soil, its shell glowing faintly in the moonlight. It closes its eyes, breathes deeply, and rests without worry. A conclusion. You are allowed to pause without guilt. A gentle breeze carries the scent of blooming night orchids. sweet, airy, vanishing almost as soon as it arrives. Each flower opens only briefly, inviting a single moth to carry its future forward. A conclusion. Moments don't need to last long to matter deeply. You sit on a fallen log, its bark soft from years of rain and the patient work of beetles and fungi. It once stood tall as part of the forest canopy. Now, in its horizontal life, it nourishes soil, insects, and seedlings. A conclusion. Every stage of life has purpose, even the quiet ones, even the low ones. Overhead, branches sway slowly, their leaves brushing together like a soft, comforting murmur. The forest seems to be saying, everything here moves at the pace of what feels natural. Nothing forces itself into the world's rhythm. Everything follows its own gentle curve. You close your eyes and let the sounds of the forest flow into your breath. The distant call of a nightjar, the crackle of small creatures moving through leaves, the faint hum of insects tuning the air like a quiet instrument. These sounds do not seek attention. They simply exist because they belong here. A conclusion. Belonging does not require effort. It happens slowly, quietly, through showing up as you are. You open your eyes again and gaze upward. The sky is clear, a vast, deep canvas studded with stars that shimmer like grains of ancient light. You feel small before them, but not insignificant. This island, this forest, this entire landscape, it exists with an ease that asks nothing from you but presence. A final conclusion begins to form, not spoken, not defined, just felt. You do not need to understand everything to rest. Some things are meant to be experienced in quiet, without explanation. The island is not telling you how to live, how to move, or what to become. It is only showing you how effortlessly life can exist when it follows its own gentle pace. You rise slowly, your breath deep and calm, your body lighter than before. The path ahead glows faintly, leading toward the last movements of this journey, where night deepens into stillness and the world softens into sleep. We continue toward the final notes of Madagascar's lullaby. Night in Madagascar deepens slowly, as though the darkness itself is careful not to startle the world. The sky shifts from deep blue to a velvety black dusted with soft constellations. The air grows cooler, but not cold, just enough to quiet the insects and settle the leaves. You stand in the middle of a forest clearing, the canopy arching overhead like a sheltering dome. The landscape around you begins its nightly ritual, a gradual, peaceful winding down. A bush baby leaps from a branch, landing on a nearby tree with a gentle thud. It pauses, rubs its tiny hands along the bark, and curls into a comfortable nook. Its eyes, huge, reflective, blink slowly as it drifts toward rest. A ring-tailed lemur finishes grooming its young, licking the fur on its head in slow, rhythmic strokes. The little one nestles closer, its striped tail winding around its mother like a soft rope of trust. They tuck themselves into a crook of branches, their bodies pressed together, breathing in sync. High above, a group of sifacas settles in their roosting tree. One yawns, a wide, expressive stretch that reveals tiny, neat teeth. Another leans against a branch, rubbing its face lazily with both hands before curling its long limbs into a compact ball of warmth. Even the chameleons, masters of patience, find their resting branches. Their bodies lighten into pale shades, soft greens and muted yellows as they drift into sleep. Their tails coil gently, like delicate spirals of calm. Lower in the undergrowth, a tenrec burrows into leaf litter, its small body disappearing beneath a soft blanket of dried foliage. It wriggles once, twice, then goes still. The night insects quiet their chorus. Their hum softens into a slow, steady drone, a lullaby woven from wings, wind, and instinct. Even the forest floor seems to lower its heartbeat. The vines sway less. The ferns fold inward. The flowers close their petals as though shielding their dreams. A breeze moves through the clearing, carrying the night scents, damp bark, cool earth, and the faint sweetness of blossoms waiting for dawn. You breathe in deeply, letting the forest's stillness enter your chest like a calming tide. Each creature here knows how to rest, how to surrender to the safe rhythm of night. A small owl glides overhead, its wings whispering against the air. It lands silently on a branch, blinks once, and watches the world with calm, amber eyes. Owls are the forest's quiet guardians, alert, attentive, but never hurried. Their presence adds a layer of assurance to the peace around you. Somewhere between the trees, a soft rustle marks a fossa moving deeper into the shadows. Its footsteps fade quickly, its sleek form vanishing into the darkness, like a thought dissolving at the edge of sleep. Everything around you speaks the same language now. The language of release, the language of winding down. The day has finished its work. The creatures have found their places to rest. And you, standing here, feel the rhythm of the island guiding you gently toward your own rest. Before you lies the final stretch of this journey, a transition from wakefulness into quiet dreams, from observation into stillness. Madagascar prepares you with every rustle of leaves, every sigh of wind, every settling creature whose breath slows with the softness of night. You take a slow step forward, your body lighter, your mind quieter. Ahead, the path thins into a narrow trail that leads back toward the coastline, toward the wind, the waves, and the island's final gentle whisper. We walk now toward the last soft movement before sleep. You move along a narrow path where trees give way to open sky, and the forest slowly dissolves into coastal grasslands. The air shifts, drier now, brushed with the faint scent of salt carried from the sea. The wind, once weaving through branches in playful spirals, has grown softer, a low, steady breeze that feels almost like a sigh. It wraps gently around your body, cooling your skin and brushing your hair like a tender hand guiding you toward stillness. This is the wind's last whisper, the final exhale before the island settles fully into sleep. You pause on a rise of land overlooking a small valley. Tall grasses sway below, their tips glowing faintly under moonlight. The movement is hypnotic, hundreds of blades bending in unison, rising again with quiet strength. It looks like breathing, slow, methodical, calm. The wind continues its gentle journey across the valley. Moving like a soft tide through the grasses, it stirs leaves, touches the tops of shrubs, and glides along the earth in soothing, rhythmic waves. You close your eyes and listen. There is a subtle tone in the wind tonight, low, steady, almost like a hum that vibrates lightly in your chest. It carries with it the stories of the island, the scent of ancient forests, the coolness of deep caves, the warmth of savanna soil, the salt of coral tides. Every part of Madagascar is folded into this final breeze, a summary, a blessing, a lullaby. Far below, a few nocturnal birds murmur softly to each other, their calls drifting lazily with the wind. You feel the breeze change direction, not sharply, but with a slow, curving motion as it circles around your body. It invites you forward. You follow its movement down a gentle slope toward the distant coastline. The grasses brush your legs lightly, their touch soft and cool. When you reach the edge of the valley, the ocean's voice grows louder, not crashing, not roaring, but rolling in low, steady breaths against the shore. The wind carries the ocean's freshness to your skin, a coolness that clears the mind, loosens the chest, and soothes the body. You sit on a smooth rock overlooking the water. The waves fold onto the sand in long, unhurried strokes. Each one spreads thin, shimmers, then retreats with a soft whisper. The rhythm is slow, like a heartbeat half asleep. The wind brushes past your ear, soft enough to feel intimate, almost like words spoken without sound. It tells you, you have seen enough. You have listened enough. You have walked far enough. Now, let the island rest and allow yourself to rest with it. You breathe in deeply, letting the cool air fill your lungs. Your shoulders loosen, your thoughts quiet. You breathe out slowly, releasing everything you don't need to hold. All around you, Madagascar drifts toward stillness. The forest, the grasslands, the shoreline, the creatures settling into their hidden nests and burrows. The wind grows slower still, a final gentle whisper before it becomes part of the night's quiet. You rise from the rock and walk softly along the sand. The path glows faintly under moonlight, your footsteps leaving shallow imprints that the next wave will erase without hurry. Ahead, the last chapter waits, a shift from observation into pure calm, from wandering into rest. The final 5 sections will cradle the listener into sleep with the softest imagery and the gentlest rhythm. We walk now into final rest. Night has settled fully over Madagascar now, not as a blanket of darkness, but as something softer, a quiet presence that cradles the land with slow, reassuring stillness. You stand at the edge of the shoreline, bare feet resting in cool sand that shifts gently with your weight. The ocean in front of you breathes steadily. A long inhale as waves gather. A long exhale as they slide back into the vastness. This is the hour when the world holds itself differently, when movement softens, light thins, and everything begins to rest within the night's gentle embrace. Behind you, the forests that once hummed with life now lie in deep silence. Lemurs sleep in the crooks of branches. Chameleons pale into stillness. Tortoises tuck themselves into warm patches of earth. Even the restless insects are quiet now, their busy chorus reduced to a faint, steady murmur that barely touches the air. The night is holding them, just as it holds you. A breeze rolls in from the sea, cool against your skin, carrying the scent of salt and faint traces of flowering coastal shrubs. It moves slowly, almost thoughtfully, as if it knows you have walked far and seen much and are finally ready to rest. You take a slow breath, your shoulders lower, your heartbeat steadies. The horizon stretches wide, open, unbroken, a place where moonlight melts into the surface of the water. The reflection shimmers gently, each wave catching a small piece of silver light and carrying it forward for a moment before letting it go. The night holds even the light gently. You step a little closer to the water. The waves lap at your toes with a softness so delicate it feels like a whisper. The ocean isn't asking anything of you. It isn't calling for attention. It is simply moving, as it always has, as it always will, with a rhythm older than mountains or forests, or even the life that now rests around you. You let that rhythm filter into your breath, slow in, slow out. The night grows deeper. Stars brighten overhead, scattered across the sky like grains of glowing sand. Some flicker faintly, others burn steady and bold, but together they form a sky that feels endless, a quiet infinity that holds every creature, every tree, every tide in a single gentle gaze. The night holds everything. You walk along the beach, feet sinking into cool sand. Each step is quiet, each movement easy. The sound of your footsteps blends with the hush of the waves, creating a soft pattern that soothes the space inside your chest. Far off, a lone seabird glides above the water, its wings barely moving as it rides the gentle air currents. There is no rush in its flight. It drifts, suspended, weightless, part of the night's slow rhythm. You stop to watch it until it becomes only a small shadow against the bright curve of the moon. From here, you can sense the whole island exhaling, a long, slow release after a day filled with movement and color and sunlight. Everything that needed to be done has been done. Everything that needed to move has moved. Everything that needed to rest has settled. The night gathers these truths gently, holding them the way a parent holds a sleeping child, with quiet devotion and steady calm. You feel the same calm settle into you now, softening your mind, loosening the last tension in your shoulders, drawing your focus inward to your breath and the softness of the moment. Slow in, slow out. The world begins to blur around the edges, less defined but more comforting. The waves melt together, a soft, rolling lullaby. The stars soften, their light blurring into a gentle haze. Nothing sharp remains, nothing demanding, nothing urgent. Just the night that holds everything. And within this night, you find a space where your thoughts can drift without direction, without pressure, without weight. Ahead, the final stages of this journey await. The last movements before sleep claims you fully. A deeper stillness, a smoother breath, a softer world. We continue now to the slow pulse of Earth beneath Madagascar's quiet sky. The sand cools beneath your feet as you walk away from the shoreline, following a narrow path that winds gently inland. The air shifts subtly, still cool, still quiet, but tinged now with the deeper scent of earth warmed by day and cooled by night. Here, away from the rumble of waves, you begin to feel another rhythm rising around you, a slow, steady pulse coming from the ground itself. You stop and place your hand against the earth. It is warm at its surface, but cooler just beneath, a layered temperature that mirrors the layers of time embedded within it. The soil hums softly, not in sound, but in presence, a deep calm that seems to radiate upward into your palm. This is the slow pulse of Earth, the quiet rhythm that underlies forests, mountains, grasslands, and coral beds. It is older than wind, older than rivers, older than the creatures resting in their nighttime dens all around you. You rise slowly and continue along the path. A grove of small trees bends slightly with the breeze. Their leaves shimmer, each one moving at the slightest suggestion of air. The forest is no longer lively as it was in daylight, but it is not empty. It is simply breathing in longer intervals. A leaf falls beside you, spinning gently, drifting sideways before settling on the ground. You watch it until it becomes still. This is Earth's pulse too, the slow falling of what is no longer needed. the gentle acceptance of change. A little farther ahead, the path curves around a large rock that glows softly in the moonlight. You rest your hand on it, feeling its solid, cool surface. It has been here for centuries, weathered by storms, touched by countless seasons. Shaped by time into this perfect stillness, its pulse is the pulse of patience, slow, steady, enduring. You sit beside the rock, letting its presence anchor your breath. As you breathe in, you feel the night air move through your lungs, cool, soothing, soft. As you breathe out, you feel tension leaving your body like grains of sand slipping from an open hand. The forest around you joins your rhythm. Crickets chirp in slow, measured intervals. Frogs croak from distant pools with unhurried calls. The wind rustles through tall grass in long, sweeping sighs. The earth does not rush. It moves in cycles, in waves, in patterns that take their time. You walk a bit farther and come to a clearing where the ground opens wide beneath a sky of luminous stars. Here, you can feel the earth's pulse in your feet, a soft vibration that seems to rise from deep below the surface. You stand still. You breathe. You listen. The pulse is faint but unmistakable, a reminder that even when everything else sleeps, the earth remains awake beneath you, holding you, anchoring you. A gentle thought drifts into your mind. You are part of this rhythm too. Your breath, your heartbeat, your quiet moments are all threads in the same ancient pattern. The longer you stand here, the more your own pulse begins to sync with the land's. Your breaths lengthen. Your thoughts soften. Your body relaxes into a state so natural, it feels like returning to something you once knew deeply. The earth's pulse is not asking anything of you. It is simply offering its steadiness, its calm, its centuries of quiet endurance so that you may rest. You take a final, slow breath and lift your gaze toward the stars. They shimmer in long, soft blinks, as though the night sky itself is growing sleepy. Ahead, the path leads toward the dreamlike part of this journey, where the land becomes a blur, where the forest softens into haze, where thoughts drift like feathers on wind. We continue now into dreams along Madagascar's quiet path. You walk slowly now, your steps lighter, your breath soft, as though the night itself is carrying you forward. The forest around you has melted into a world, somewhere between waking and dreaming, a place where shapes blur, colors dim, and sounds stretch into long, gentle echoes. This is the threshold of dreams. The path beneath your feet is smooth with fallen leaves, their edges softened by moisture and time. Each step makes the faintest sound, a hush, a whisper, a quiet exhale from the forest floor. The trees on either side of you sway subtly, their trunks tall and patient, as though swaying to a rhythm that only the night understands. Overhead, the branches knit together into a loose canopy that glows faintly in the light of the moon. The moonlight trickles downward like diluted silver, pooling gently on the ground in trembling patches of light. As you continue walking, your thoughts begin to drift the way leaves drift when wind carries them, slow, weightless, without direction. You no longer think of where you've come from or where you're going. You simply move in the soft corridor between the trees, guided by sensation more than intention. A lemur crosses your path, not with its usual energetic leap, but with a slow, graceful drift, its soft fur illuminated in a pale halo of moonlight. It pauses, tilts its head, and then disappears gently into the understory as if sliding into another dream. Farther ahead, a pair of eyes glint from a low branch, a mouse lemur, small as a handful of leaves. It moves so lightly, you barely hear it. Its presence feels fleeting, like a moment that exists in memory before you fully realize it has happened. The air grows warmer as you descend deeper into the dreamlike forest. Fruit-sweet scents drift around you, mango blossom, wild vanilla, and the faintest hint of ripe tamarind. Shapes along the path shift subtly. A tree root looks, for a moment, like the curve of a sleeping creature. A cluster of leaves resembles a curled hand. The forest seems to breathe with you, slow in, slow out, as though it has entered the same half-dreaming space you now walk through. A faint glow catches your attention. Fireflies rise from the undergrowth in lazy spirals, their light pulsing softly. They drift around you, forming a constellation of moving stars that hangs low to the ground. You pause in the middle of these floating embers, their glow reflecting faintly in your eyes. Your breath synchronizes with their rhythmic flickering, a slow blinking of living light. It becomes harder to tell where the fireflies end and where the stars begin. Everything seems connected in a single, fluid motion. A soft wind brushes your face, warm at first, then cool, like the shifting temperature inside a dream. You realize that you are drifting not just through a forest, but through the gentle edge of sleep. Thoughts soften into sensations. The feel of cool air on your skin, the scent of damp earth, the shimmer of fireflies spinning softly around you. The forest path widens slightly, opening into a small clearing where grass sways in slow arcs. A rock sits in the center, smooth, flat, as though placed there to be a resting point for travelers between worlds. You sit on the rock, its surface cool beneath you. Your breathing slows even more. You close your eyes briefly and feel the night press gently at your back, not pushing, not urging, just supporting, just being there. When you open your eyes again, the fireflies have gathered closer, their lights glowing in soft, breathing pulses. The clearing feels suspended, a pocket of stillness held gently within the larger forest. You realize then, dreams do not always begin with sleep. Sometimes they begin with stillness, with quiet, with the gentle easing of the mind. You rise slowly, your body light, your steps even softer than before. The fireflies drift aside as though parting for you, guiding you back to the path. Ahead, the forest grows deeper, darker, but not frightening, only softer, quieter, closer to sleep. We walk now toward the last feeling before rest fully takes hold, the breath of sleeping trees. As you continue along the moonlit path, the forest changes once more, its shapes softening, its colors fading into muted blues and silvers. This is the hour when even the trees seem to rest. Their branches droop slightly, their leaves hang lower, their trunks remain rooted in wide, steady stillness. A deep calm settles over everything. A calm so complete that the forest seems to be breathing in long, slow waves. You pause at the edge of a grove of tall trees, massive, ancient beings whose roots knot across the ground like sleeping limbs. You take a step into the grove. The air grows cooler, thicker, carrying the scent of bark and moist earth. A hush settles over you, the kind of hush that makes your breathing deeper without trying. You stand still and listen. At first, you hear nothing. Then, Gradually, you begin to notice it, a subtle, rhythmic sound like the faintest whisper. It is the sound of leaves stirring in slow motion, of branches creaking gently as they adjust to night air, of roots settling deeper into the earth with the coolness of darkness. It is the sound of trees breathing, not literally, not in the human sense, but they do breathe, exhaling oxygen into the quiet, inhaling carbon dioxide in the darkness. Their rhythm is slow, steady, ancient. You step closer to one of the trees, a tall tamarind with broad branches and deep grooves running down its trunk. The bark is cool when you touch it, and as your fingers rest on its textured surface, you can feel the faint vibration of water moving far within its body. A soft pulse, a quiet current, the tree's inner life moving at night. You close your eyes. The forest breathes around you. The trees exhale in faint rustles. They inhale in subtle stillness. Your own breath matches theirs without you even realizing. Slow in, slow out. A leaf falls with gentle grace, spiraling down in a slow, looping pattern before coming to rest on the ground. You open your eyes and watch it settle, a small gesture of the tree's rest, a surrender to the night. Farther ahead, a massive baobab stands like a sleeping giant. Its trunk is thick and warm, its branches reaching upward like calm, stretched arms. Even in stillness, you can imagine its breath, slow, deep cycles that have continued for hundreds of years. The longer you stay, the more the grove's rhythm invites you to join it. Your steps slow, your shoulders loosen, your eyelids grow heavier. You walk deeper, leaving behind the large trees and entering a section where saplings cluster together, their leaves trembling lightly as though dreaming of wind. They are younger, smaller, but part of the same breath, a continuation of the forest's long, unbroken inhale and exhale. The ground becomes softer beneath your feet, a bed of fallen leaves that muffles every sound, allowing silence to settle into your bones. Ahead, the path widens into a small hollow, where moonlight spills over a circle of roots intertwined so perfectly, they look woven. You step into the center of the hollow. The air is cool, comforting, still. The sleeping trees stand around you like guardians, tall, serene, each one breathing in its own quiet rhythm. You lower yourself to the ground, leaning your back against a smooth trunk. The bark is cool and firm. You exhale, your body relaxes, the trees breathe with you. Slow in, slow out. You feel safe here, held, supported, surrounded by ancient calm. The forest seems to whisper, rest, let the night carry you. Let the trees breathe for you when your breath softens into sleep. Your eyes grow heavy. Ahead lies only one more step, the final gentle release into sleep's quiet embrace. We continue now into the last chapter. The forest has grown so quiet that even the smallest sound seems softened. A distant rustle, a gentle sigh of wind, the faint hum of nighttime insects blending into a single soothing tone. You remain seated against the smooth trunk of the sleeping tree, its presence steady behind you, its quiet strength supporting your body like a slow, grounding heartbeat. Your breath has settled into long, soft waves. Each inhale dips deeper into the calm around you. Each exhale disperses the last pieces of tension your body held from the journey behind you. Above, the canopy opens to a sky washed in silver light. Stars glow gently, not sharp, not bright, but soft-edged like smudges of luminescence spread gently across velvet. The night is not dark at all. It is layered, a gradient of blues, charcoal grays, and pale moonlit whites flowing together as seamlessly as water. You rise slowly, your body light, your movements unhurried, as though the night itself is lifting you just a little. The path ahead leads out of the grove. You walk toward it, each step sinking softly into the bed of fallen leaves. Their scent rises warm and earthy, a gentle reminder of everything the forest recycles, renews, returns. When you step out of the grove, the landscape opens once more to Madagascar's quiet night. The world has changed subtly. The air feels thinner, lighter, as though it has been filtered through layers of calm just for you. You walk toward a rise in the land, a small hill overlooking the coastline where the ocean meets the sky. The grass along the slope brushes softly against your legs, barely stirring in the faint breeze. When you reach the top, the view expands. Below, the waves move in slow strokes, broad ribbons of silver painting the shoreline again and again with the same patient hand. Beyond them, the horizon stretches wide and unbroken, a seamless boundary between sea and night. You stand still. The world around you moves in cycles, waves, winds, breaths, seasons, growth, decay, renewal. All of it flows, all of it continues, all of it forms one long, interconnected motion that never truly stops. The river you visited still remembers the rain. The coral gardens still breathe in soft, underwater tides. The tortoises still wander beneath morning sunlight. The forest roots still exchange silent wisdom beneath the soil. The lemurs still leap with the first blush of dawn. And the chameleons still rest in pale, gentle colors under moon's tender glow. Everything you witness today exists not as isolated moments, but as threads in a vast, flowing tapestry that the wild continuously weaves. You breathe in, slow, steady, deep, and feel yourself become part of that flow. Not separate, not observing, but belonging. The island, with all its strange, beautiful life, moves gently through you, filling you with a certainty that things do not need to be rushed, forced, or controlled. They can flow, they can soften, they can unfold in their own time. A breeze brushes the side of your face. It is cool now, carrying the scent of distant water and the faint sweetness of night-blooming flowers. It feels like a final touch, a closing gesture from the island itself. You sit down on the soft grass, letting your body shift into a comfortable position. Your breathing slows further, matching the waves below, matching the pulse of the earth beneath you. Slow in, slow out. The wind quiets, the stars blur, the edges of the world grow softer. As your eyes grow heavy, you feel Madagascar settling with you, the forests resting, the creatures dreaming, the land sighing gently under the moonlight. Every part of this island flows with ancient motion, and you drift with it now, held by its calm, supported by its rhythm, carried by its peace. In this moment, everything moves together. Waves, wind, breath, island, sky. You, all part of one slow, soothing motion. And as your thoughts dissolve into quiet, the world whispers its final truth. Everything flows through the wild. Sleep in that motion.